my lovely Twitch chat. Hello, it is I, your not so favorite, not so sexy degenerate anime cat girl, and today we are starting Our Life Beginnings and Always. I honestly don't really know much about this game. I'm pretty sure it's a game about you going through the life of a young boy who lives by the sea, I believe. I only saw this game like briefly on Twitter, and I'm like, oh, this looks like a nice game. I think I'll give it a shot. And yeah. It just looks like a nice cozy game. The music sounds really nice. You can hear the nice ocean. I figured we could use like a nice cozy game today, hopefully with no scuff. But knowing our luck, yeah, there's gonna be tons of scuff. Welcome to Our Life Beginnings and Always. There are various ways you can customize and interact with the game. This tutorial is an overview of how certain features work. You can read the full tutorial from the main menu to learn about everything in detail. To start off, the game is divided into 4 time periods called steps. Step 1, childhood. Step 2, adolescence. Step 3, young adulthood. Step 4, adulthood. Okay. Our life is further divided into sets of vignettes that take place during specific periods of time. These are called moments. Moments can be played in any order or skipped entirely. You move on to the next step whenever you want by selecting that summer's ending. Steps 1 to 3 include 5 moments each, and even more can be unlocked by purchasing DLC. Some are out now and other DLCs will release later on. I might get the DLC if I like this game, so let's just see how this game goes. If I like it, I'll consider getting the DLC. If not, then I'll just leave it here. Step 4 is an epilogue and doesn't include moments. Okay. A lot happens over the years that go by, especially in regard to the character you play as. You determine nearly everything about the main character: name, appearance, personality, pronouns, interests, skills, the relationship with major characters, and so on. Alright, sure. You can decide to change the details as time goes on, with a few exceptions. Your last name, skin tone, and eye color cannot be altered once set. Such of the main C's basic traits are determined on a character creation screen. As the MC grows up, more options become available on the screen. Oh, alright. That sounds kind of interesting. Alright. As mentioned, one of the decisions you'll get to make for your character is selecting a name. You can type in any name you like, or you can pick a preset name. Preset options are called voice names because the name will be voiced aloud by the romantic lead. You'll get to hear him say your name as you play through the story. Only the default name Jamie is included in the base game. Hundreds more can be added by getting a free voice named expansion DLC. The full collection of names is separated out as DLC because of how large it is. If you're not interested in that feature, you don't need to get it. Okay. Each name in the DLC belongs to or was selected by someone who supported the project. Oh, that's interesting. Alright. On the character creation screen, there's a cute doll you can decorate to get an idea of what your MC looks like with the different traits to put out together. Not all things you decide about the MC appear on the doll. The script referring what you've decided for the MC is the main way those decisions influence the game. Our Life has a first-person perspective, so your character does not appear next to other character sprites. You only see the MC as a decorative doll and in special cut-in CG images. The cut-in CGs only appear if certain choices are made. It's possible not to see any during a playthrough. There's also a second type of special MC-based screen, the Interest Comfort screen. Unless you get DLCs, the game has one love interest, Cove Hoden. He grows up with the MC, and Interest Comfort screen is crucial for determining how that plays out. Alright, so no exact harem, but we can work with this. Hopefully Cove is nice. I think he's the green-haired dude in the title screen. Interest level sets how much you like him. There are 4 levels: Disinterest, Fond, Crush, and Love. Love is only available starting in Step 3, and if you are at Fond or Crush in Step 2. Comfort determines how you generally think when it comes to him. There are 3 levels: nervous, relaxed, and direct. Your level of interest and comfort will set the type of dynamic your character has with the love interest. What you did in the past will influence the present, and feelings can change over time. You get to pick your interest comfort near the beginning of every step. Comfort can switch between the 3 levels as you please. Your interest level can only stay the same or increase. Your current level of interest will become the next lowest option on the screen in the future. For example, if you decided to be Fond in Step 1, this interest will not be available on the screen in Step 2 and 3, which will make the Fond the bottom level option for your relationship. Interest level has an impact when it comes to physically interacting with Cove. While growing up, things are rather simple. If you get along with one another and have a close relationship, you can choose to touch him, and Cove will occasionally interact with the MC in light-hearted or comforting ways. Ah, alright. They put a lot of thought into this. But starting in Step 3, touching can become more romantic or suggestive if you're at Crush or Love. Please tell me there's no nudity. I do not want to get banned. Make sure things go nicely with that. There will be an extra choice to determine initiative level, and a bonus mini tutorial that goes along with the choice to explain the feature in more detail. Basically, even if you decide you like Cove, the game won't force you to act on these feelings. Oh, alright. That's actually really cool. You can always choose not to get together with him, choose not to accept or give romantic gestures, etc. If you do decide to date Cove, though, you can't break up with him later. Interest Comfort gets the basics down, but it's the choices that appear throughout the normal game events that decide what actually happens between the MC and Cove. And it isn't only the MC who is impacted by your decision. Cove grows and changes over the years. How he's treated and what he experiences helps shape who he becomes. In Step 2 and 3, Cove's personality, appearance, and interests will be very based on what happened in the previous step. It's something of a mystery exactly how your decisions end up changing him. You can try to guess as you go along. Or, if you prefer, you can also just design your own ideal Cove directly using the Cove Creator option and pops up at the beginning of Steps 2 and 3. Making the choices you want is always more important than making a choice because you feel like you have to in order to get a certain result. When a choice does appear, usually you'll see that hovering the cursor over an option shows a certain color. Yellow, blue, or green. The colors aren't related to specific points or effects, they're only there to give a bit of insight on the tone and mission of the choice, since the text alone can potentially be read in more than one way. Blue tends to be casual, straightforward, yellow is more emotive, reactive, and green less certain, uncommitted. Though there are hundreds of options in our life, and not every choice menu falls in line with that pattern, picking just one color every time doesn't give a gameplay benefit. Only stick to a certain type if that's what you happen to like, otherwise switch between them freely. Always pick yellow, never pick yellow, pursue romance right from the start, never romantic love interest, be disagreeable or amiable, none of them will lead to a bad ending. Okay, so this game has no bad endings, good. So this isn't definitely going to be like Zero Escape where we have to just like go through a bunch of endings just to get the good one. You're welcome to enjoy the events and shape the story without reservation. And then, if you like, you can play again if you try something new. There's only ever more good content to discover. Okay, we hope you have a nice time with Our Life. Thank you for playing. Alright, finally we can play. Oh, we can finally make our character. Alright, we're good. Yui Nyampasu. Done. Summer in Sunset Bird was a special time of year. Your usually sleepy town began to bustle. It was a popular tourist destination with people coming from all over to enjoy the beach, the weather, and the relaxation that came with both. The smell of the ocean, crisp and salty, hung in the air, bringing 3 whole months of schoolless vacation with it. This does not age well for me considering I just started getting back to work. Ugh. During the summer, your moms didn't like you to wander too far off of your neighborhood, so you knew the area pretty well. Hey yo, I got 2 moms, let's go! Woo! That included the people. Families came and went from Sunset Bird, but they mostly stayed and did what your mom called putting down roots. Going for a walk around town mostly meant that the familiar, friendly residents waved, or asked how your family was, or most often just said hello. It does look like a nice neighborhood, though. You didn't really get why they always had to say hi, they saw you every day, but you nodded back at them anyways. You ended up saying hi to a lot of different people, since most of the tourists that came and went every summer were the same ones. You were too anxious to say hi back to most of the other residents that greeted you, but they all know you well enough to expect that. Either the second one or the green one. I'll do the second one. You enjoyed learning all about where they were visiting from and hoped to visit those places one day too. But today, there's a man sitting on the curb outside your house. He was sitting with his head in his hands, his whole body slumped over, and you wondered if he was even a real person or a statue that had magically sprung up from the ground overnight. Whoever or whatever he was, you had never seen him before. One thing about knowing everyone in Sunset Bird was that people who you didn't recognize really stood out. It was rare for tourists to venture into the residential district, as your moms called it. So for you, not knowing who a total stranger was set off a lot of red flags. Your mom's had a talk with you and your big sister Lizzie about this kind of situation before. Hey yo, I got a sister too! Nice! You hadn't exactly been listening at the time, you think it could be okay to talk to new people. They mentioned that some people aren't good to talk to, but other types of people can help you even if you don't know them. Remember that it's okay to run away if you feel uncomfortable. You don't have to worry about being polite then. I'd say the yellow one. You weren't sure about this man yet. Still, you felt a bit scared knowing that he was blocking the way to your front door, but you were pretty interested. You wanted to know more about what was going on. Whether he was nice or not, you didn't want to be bothered. I'll do this one. You slowed down, your mind racing for ideas on how to get past him, unseen, but it was too late to escape. There's a split second where your eyes met, and you took in a shaky breath, your eyes darting to the sky, pretending to stare at a bird who was hovering nearby. Hello, bird. Hey! His voice startled you and made you jump, but you still didn't look at him. Trying to keep your eyes on it was tough, especially when the man stood up and started to make his way toward you. Stranger danger! Stranger danger! Not wanting to seem too approachable, you folded your arms and stared. Still unsure about him, but willing to be friendly, you offered the stranger a smile. Your whole body was frozen in place as he approached. This one. Do you live around here? What's your name? Oh, hello! Hello, sir! Listen, what I said about the stranger danger, you can forget about that. Hello, sir! You're kinda cute, not gonna lie. You liked the man up and down, taking in his tan skin and relaxed appearance. At least his clothes were relaxed. The way he was acting wasn't. He had sharks on his shorts and stingray tattoo, and you wondered if he was obsessed with the ocean or something. Maybe he's a marine biologist, who knows? While you made your assessment, he looked at you expectantly, waiting for an answer to his question. Yeah, I live here. I live right here. My name is Yui. You continue to say nothing. Yeah, I live here. That's great. He looked happy to hear it, giving you a broad smile. Oh? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a clean $20 bill. It crinkled in his hand as he held it up to you. Sir, are you trying to bribe me? Well, it's working, so give me the money. Could you do me a favor? What? Nothing bad, sorry, I should've... Let me start over. Yeah, the fact that you're saying this to a child is kinda sus, dude, but try again. He cleared his throat and stood up straighter. From where you were standing, it just made him look creepier. I have a son. His name is Cope, who's about your age. Oh, so he's an actual daddy! Okay! Alright, sir. I'm willing to hang out with your son. If only I can get to spend more time with you. Cove. That seemed like a strange name for an actual living person to you. You chewed on the inside of your cheek. This guy was definitely obsessed with water. You thought that was pretty cool. Yellow. He wasn't the only person like that in Sunset Bird. Who's moved in across the street, see? Oh, he doesn't actually get his name. He's just Cove's dad. Okay. He gestured toward the house that had been empty for a year, his watch catching the late afternoon sunlight and reflecting off the walls. The gigantic for sale sign was finally gone. You must be Yui Nyampasu, right? I met your moms earlier and they told me you were 8, just like him, so... He shook the $20 bill to bring it back to your attention, a hopeful smile tilting his lips at the corners. Can you try to be friends with the boy? Just give it a chance and you can keep this. He's a good kid. You'll like him. You're really bribing me with $20 just to be friends with your son? That's kind of sad, not gonna lie, but at least it shows that you care about him.
Do you mind?
But you've got to keep it a secret too, okay? I wouldn't be friendly to say his dad sent you. You eyed the man. You kind of felt sorry for Cove. Did other kids really get their parents to pay for friendship? You kind of felt sorry for Cove. This definitely wasn't like the normal way kids made friends. You knew that. What do you say? Want to make a deal? You took the bill. You didn't want the money. You ran away. I didn't want the money. No, thank you. Sorry. He deflated enough to notice, but not completely.
Are you sure?
It won't be so bad. Even if it's just for the summer, that'd be enough. That only made this sound more strange to you. Why does it lasting for the summer matter? When it was clear his initial strategy wasn't going to fly, he tucked the bill into his back pocket and changed the request. I get it. You don't have to. Would you be comfortable with he and I coming over for a normal visit? No money involved? Oh, I selected the second one because I wanted to try and be friends with him without the money, but I guess I just denied it. God damn it, I should have taken the money. Yeah, I want to meet him. Okay, you can do that, I guess. You have to ask my moms. You didn't answer the man. Yeah, I want to meet him. His smile got bigger again. His eyes crinkled at the sides. I'll bring him by tomorrow. I wanted him to meet and greet with the neighbors today, but... Well, I don't know where he's gone off to. He laughed when he said that, but with the way his face looked, you thought he actually wanted to cry. If you see him, can you tell him to come on home? He's got a pink cast and glasses. You can't miss it. I can try. You nodded, not totally certain that you'd find Cove, but willing to look. The man smiled and reached out to pat you on the head, thought before doing so, then pulled his hand away instead. Your mom's already checking around for me. Such a thoughtful group you are. Now I better go look too. Can't put everyone else to work while I keep sitting here. I thought he might come back and that's not what's important. I have to go. Thanks again, Yui. So much. He jogged off down the street without another word. You decided to check the hills behind your house. Is he going to be there? Oh, it's pretty. It's nighttime. Step 1. First sight. Oh shit. It's time. The chirping of crickets in the tall grass greeted you, quiet and familiar. From the top of the hill, you could see the ocean. As you walked, you listened to the crash of the waves on the shore, and the seagulls squawking as they settled down for the night. You've always loved the ocean, it was so much fun. You love to hear stories about the sea, about the merfolk and sea serpents you imagined living far away beneath the waves. You didn't enjoy the beach all that much, especially the sand, which got absolutely everywhere. Honestly, yeah, I didn't. As much as I like the aesthetic of the beach, that's all I like. I only like the aesthetic of the beach. I'm not much of a beach person. Like, I'll go to the boardwalk and have fun and, relax, but I am not a beach person. I don't like the sand. I don't think anybody likes the sand. It gets everywhere. The water's always too cold, and plus there's a chance you can get stung by a jellyfish, which is, not always good. So, yeah, I'm not a beach person. You really couldn't understand why so many people came all the way from where they lived just to visit the ocean. You took in a deep breath. You wanted to try and relax and couldn't. You weren't sure what, but something told you that you weren't alone, so you glanced around. There's a boy sitting at the top of one hill, almost completely hidden with the long grass and white flowers surrounding him. Oh, that's Cove! His head was buried in his knees, staring ahead by himself. For whatever reason, probably just that he wasn't paying attention, he hadn't noticed you yet. You watched him a minute longer, feeling a little bit like he'd found a deer in the wild. Though deer didn't have, green hair. But this new boy did. You watched as it fluttered softly around his face in the breeze. After a few more seconds, he took a step forward, then another. And then he glanced your way. His aquamarine eyes reflected the light of the moon. You stopped, raising a hand to acknowledge him and show you weren't scary. Hi. Hey, Space Cadet. Are you lost? Hey, Space Cadet. With a start, he jumped to his feet, his hands balling into fists at his sides. Oh, shit, I scared him away. He didn't say anything, just stared at you in a strange way. Oh, he's crying. Fuck. I hate crying, especially crying children. He'd been crying. There were traces of tears on his cheeks and his knees, soaking the hem of his shorts, and his eyes were still shining with a few more. I'm guessing he might be homesick or something. I wonder how he got that cast right there. You'd obviously caught him off guard. His pink cast seemed to glow in the twilight, though when he caught you staring at it, he hid his arm behind his back. Something the man earlier had stuck out to you. Cove? Ah! Eyes wide, he studied you. How'd you know that? Lucky guess, I'm all-knowing. I met your dad. Oh, he talks! So, is this your hill? He gestured with his uninjured arm to the patch of grass surrounding you, his face falling at the prospect. I can leave if it is. You can't own a hill. You shook your head. Yep. You can't own a hill. Why not? How could you? You just do at a hill back home. Oh, so you think you're so good and you're so rich that you can own a hill? Well, not many people could own a hill, Co. Fuck off. Well, this still isn't mine. Oh. He sat back down with a thumb resting his chin on his knees again. Curious about the strange new boy with the odd dad, you sat on the patch of grass next to him. The pure white flowers that covered this hill rocked back and forth gently as the stars twinkled above. The way they dotted the sky made them seem like flowers, too. The night wind as cool as it traveled over the ocean and up the hill, chasing away the heat from the afternoon sun. Why are you here? Why'd your family move? Why are you here? A quiet hiccup escaped Cove as he asked the question. Almost like they'd never stopped, his tears started up again with a vengeance. My parents. They didn't want to live together with me anymore. Oh, is this family divorced? The tears fell fast and heavy over his flushed cheeks, sticking in his dark lashes. My mom made my dad leave, and he took me with him, and now we have a house here, and I want to go home. Oh shit, well, fuck that mom, man. I bet she's a bitch. The dad seemed cool, though. The outburst took you off guard. By the time he was done wailing, Cove's chest was heaving with exhaustion. He sniffled and removed his glasses, wiping out his eyes with the back of his hand before he put them back on again. I hate this place. I want my real life back. I want my mom. I'm sorry. Your dad seems kind of nice. You'll like it here. You just have to get used to it. Stop crying. I'm not gonna say stop crying because that's gonna make me sound like a bitch. You'll like it here. Just have to get used to it. Your dad seems kind of nice. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He slipped his hands underneath his glasses and pressed his fingers against his eyelids. Cove wound himself up again for another long crying fit. He felt bad for him, being forced to come here with no choice. You could imagine what it would feel like to live with only one of your moms, but it must be pretty hard. But from the way off in the distance, you heard your parents. Yui!
Cove?
Kids, where'd you go? Cove looked at you, tears still clinging onto his cheeks. Don't tell them we're here. I don't want to go back to that house. You can handle it. You have to go. Don't worry so much. Sorry, I have to. It'll be okay. Don't worry so much. Don't worry so much. Sure, it may be weird and you're not gonna like it, but your dad's there too, right? Yeah. So you're not really all by yourself. Even if it feels like it, you just gotta tell him how you feel. You shot him a grin and pushed yourself to your feet. He can't do anything if you don't make him hear you, right? Slowly, Cove stood up like you, still looking a little reluctant. His dad's voice rang out again. Cove, can you hear me? He looked toward the sound of his dad's voice, silent, and turned away, rubbing his not bandaged arm.
Sorry.
I still don't want to go. That's okay, dude. We can hang out. You called out yourself, you waited silently with him, you tried to convince him. I'll wait silently with him. I'm sure he'll appreciate a friend. Yeah, I get it. You do? Before you could answer, you heard Cove's dad even closer than before. There you are, bud. The trio of parents appeared over the curve of the hill. Instantly, all their eyes landed on you and they rushed over. Oh, is that my moms? Oh, they're so pretty. I love them. I love my moms. I have 2 gay moms. Both of your moms were at your side in a split second, faces filled with worry. Yui, you're here after all. We had been at the park to check for Cove and then heard what happened earlier when you met the new neighbor. I thought you might have gone off further away. Makoto, come on! You're really gonna make me wear the bottom collar with this nice, wholesome game? No, we were just sitting in the grass. Why is everybody acting like this is such a big deal? We're okay, don't worry. Cove didn't want to go home just yet. Cove didn't want to go home just yet. Mommy gave Cove a small smile and then she turned back to you. Thank God you're both fine. Were you two having fun out here? You looked over at Cove, who was wiggling against his dad's tight hug and pushing at his arms. You shrugged. Yes, I like him. He's good. I think I'm gonna marry him. I don't know, what should I say? I want to say either I like him or he's good. I think I'm gonna marry him. I think I'm just gonna say I like him. No, I think I'm gonna marry him. You nod, smiling slightly. Oh, that's wonderful. Finally letting go of his scowling son, Cove's dad turned to the 3 of you. Thanks very much for finding him. I really didn't know this neighborhood. Good thing Yui knows this whole area so well. Absolutely. We should be getting home now. It's been a long day for us all. Say goodbye, Cove. Bye, Cove. 2 of them walked off into the darkness, heading toward the neighborhood. You watched Cove's bright pink cast until it disappeared. Tell you what. We'll have a proper playdate tomorrow, okay? Your new friend's dad wanted to bring him by to see you and Lizzie. How does that sound? Sure, can I show him my stuff? It sounds like words. You nod, ducking your head down. Sure, can I show him my stuff?
Of course.
Then okay. I like the moms. The moms are so cute. Hopefully, Lizzie is just as adorable as me. Both your moms laughed in sounds overlapping into a warm, familiar chorus. Mommy put her arm around your shoulder and led you toward the path. Satisfied, the more than a little ready to go to bed after your long, exciting day, you followed them home. Choose your feelings for Code. This is how you feel towards Code for this step. It can change in later steps. I can't choose love yet, so I think I'm gonna do relaxed. Fond? Crush? Indifferent? Should I do fond or crush? I think I'll start with fond and then move on to crush, and then I can do love in the next step. I don't know. At the breakfast table the next morning, you finished your food faster than usual. Hey, got the achievement! Childhood friendship. So we're childhood friends. Let's go! Your sister Lizzie had run out earlier to go play, but you'd stayed put. Today, just like your moms had promised, Cove was coming over to hang out. Hi, Moms. Excited to see your new friend again, Yui? Yeah, I am.
How sweet.
I'm so happy you moved in.
Okay.
With that said, are you done with your breakfast? Yeah. I don't know. Am I? Your bowl is entirely empty, so you nodded. I don't know. Am I? You gestured down to the empty dish in front of you, raising your eyebrows dramatically. I'm such a little shit. I love it.
Okay.
We see. Good job. You should be here soon. Cleanup began, and then on cue, there was a knock. It was hesitant, like the person wasn't sure they were in the right place. Still loud, though. Yui, could you get it? Wiggling out of your chair without really pushing it back, you made your way to the door. Hey, Neon Posse family, thanks for having us. Mr. Holden, as your moms have called him, and his son were here. Hello, Mr. Holden. Listen, I know I'm supposed to marry Cove in this game, but Mr. Holden, Yeah, I am looking disrespectfully at him. I'm sorry. He's so hot. Cove looked different in the bright lighting of your living room, and when he wasn't crying. With his dad standing in front of him, and mommy behind you, you and Cove looked at each other. Pleased to see your new friend again, he smiled at Cove. He smiled back with some hesitation. You twisted the threaded bracelet on your wrist. You twisted the crystal bead bracelet on your wrist. Twisted the flower bead bracelet on your breast. What's a shell bracelet? Flowers or crystals? Flowers or crystals? I'd say flowers. Let's go play in my room.
Well,
Okay.
Take care.
Let us know if you need anything, you two. Have fun, kids.
See you.
Play nice. You led him to your room, puffing out your chest a little bit at the sight of your treasures. There are lots of stuffed animals, a cool bed, a window to look out. It was a great room. You hadn't had anyone to show it to in a while, but you were really proud of it. You leaned in a little closer to one of your drawings on the wall. I like this. Me too. I drew that. Thank you. I don't. I drew that. Cool. You smiled at him. You were proud of that particular piece of art, and you were glad he noticed it. You turned to look around the room a little more, studying the books on your desk and the pictures on the walls. You started to feel a little nervous. You felt the atmosphere was kind of awkward. You're glad for the company. You hoped you liked your room. You were glad for the company. It was nice to have someone new to play with. Then his eyes landed with a tiny box of beach things you'd collected, tucked away by your door. He took a step towards it, before hesitating and pointing at it instead. What's that? A hoard of stuff I found on the beach.
Oh.
Do you have any driftwood in there? Dragging the box in the middle of the room, you and Cove flopped down next to it. I think so. Yeah, see? You gestured to a piece at the bottom, still covered with specks of sand.
Neat.
This is a good collection. You got the sense from the tone of his voice that he wasn't just saying it to be nice, or to be like Shiloh. He actually meant it. Who's Shiloh? Oh, right, I almost forgot. Shiloh's gonna be here today. Shiloh? Lizzie's friend. Or, like, her #1 fan, I guess. Ah, so, her crush. Gotcha. Do I have to see him? It should be okay. I mean, he's Lizzie's friend, not mine, but you know. Come on, check out my shell some more. I found this one under a big piece of seaweed that had washed up ashore, and... You pulled out a seashell after seashell, explaining where you had gotten one and holding them up against the light. There were big ones, small ones, pink, purple, and orange. Aw, look at him. He's happy that we're talking about our shells. Most of them you washed off into the bathroom sink when you brought them home, cleaning up the sand. Over the past few years, you'd even learned some of their scientific names. The collection was so huge and varied that you had lots of funny stories to tell for all of them. Your voice faltered a little bit, but you kept going as best as you could. This one. You were really proud of your shell collection, and it made you happy that Cove was interested in it too. Apparently fascinated either by the stories or by the shells themselves, Cove listened with what looked like the full force of his intention. It was a new experience to be the center of such dedicated focus, but Cove hadn't been mean to you, so you didn't mind, smiled at him every now and then while showing him your collection. Kids, come down to the living room! You could tell the idea was making him unhappy, but Mommy wasn't giving you much of a chance to hang around. Yeah, I really can't be disrespectful to my mom. She'd worked so hard for me. I love my moms. Cove hadn't been like this meeting you. You guess it was because he thinks you found each other by accident, not that a parent had made it happen. Mr. Holden must be right that telling Cove his dad was part of that would be a bad idea. Before you knew it, you'd both been escorted downstairs and deposited into the living room, ready for Shiloh's visit. The two of you sat side by side on the floor of your home's entryway. I brought the box of shells. I want to keep looking at them. Great. Okay, but be careful. You should have asked. Okay, but be careful. I will. You weren't sure if you could trust someone else with your treasures yet, so you stayed next to him while he opened the lid and peered inside. Hey, he's interested in what we're interested in. I appreciate that. That's a good sign of friendship. Cove reached in and pulled out a big orange shell. Oh. Like he hadn't spoken aloud yet, he turned to you and held it up, his eyes shining. I think this one is the best of them. That's my favorite too. I like a different one best. I can show it to you. You can take it. That's my favorite too. Cove smiled at you and you both admired the shell together. It was a giant conch with shades of dark and light orange. If you held it to your ear, you could practically hear the ocean. I found that one last summer when we went to the beach on a picnic. The two of you were still sitting on the floor looking through your collection of beach findings when the doorbell finally rang. Cove jumped, startled by the sound. Since the person hadn't knocked, you figured it was probably Shiloh. You knew where to look for that. Lizzie's friend? You nodded, and that didn't seem to make Cove feel better. It was already obvious that Cove didn't hide his feelings, though. You could tell what he was thinking right away. This isn't a good idea. You'll be alright, he's here and we can't tell him to leave. He's at our only door, and if you go upstairs, he'll find you. Cove glanced around the room, his eyes wide, and finally paused with his gaze locked onto the back of the house. I can go out the window. He was already walking towards it. Scrambling to think of something to say, you stepped toward, then paused. Do you want to break your other arm? Shiloh's least scared person alive. Cheer up, Shiloh's gonna like you. Please don't get hurt. I'll come with you. Good idea, let's go. Do you want to break your other arm? Even I don't jump out of any of the windows here, and this is my house. The distance from the first floor living room window wasn't far, but you could tell it made Cove nervous anyway. He touched the cast on his arm. The wind had clearly released from his sails. I don't want to break any more bones. I don't think anyone wants to. I don't want to. I haven't broken a bone yet, and I don't plan to. I haven't even gotten surgery yet for, like, anything. I'm 23 years old, and I'm going strong, baby! But I don't want to see him. I don't know him. You teased him, you comforted him, you encouraged him. Hey, if you do have a hard time with him, I'll tell him to leave. Is that okay? Okay. Shiloh poked his head into the living room. It was impossible to know for sure if he'd heard what you'd been saying or not, but he guessed that he had.
Hi.
Aw, he's adorable! Look at his little freckles! Aw! Why wouldn't Cove like him? He seems nice! And hi, Cove? Cove shot you an uneasy glance.
Hi.
I'm Shiloh. Nice to meet you. Yeah. You have a lot of freckles. Cove, don't be mean. Right, I do. What are you guys doing? We're looking at shells.
Can I do it too?
Cove shrugged and looked back at your box of beach findings.
Hmm.
What about that one? The plan for the afternoon, at least as far as you were concerned, was to sit and look at the beach things some more. You weren't really in the mood to do much of anything else, especially if Cove was having fun. Hey, check out this scallop shell I found. Cool, right? It is pretty cool, kind of like my cast. Beautiful glittering pink did look a little bit like the wrap around his arm. Pink is a nice color. You're damn right it's a nice color. It's my favorite color. Okay.
Oh?
Is it your favorite? Not really. What is? Maybe green or blue. Might be yellow. Oh, like the 3 color choices we have. Oh, those are all cool.
I guess.
I like those colors too. There are better colors. Not sure how to deal with the suddenly more awkward silence you look back at your shells. I like those colors too.
Awesome.
Both of them smiled. Like usual, it didn't take long for Shiloh to get fidgety. Lizzie was his favorite. Without her around, Shiloh didn't seem to know what to do with himself. And Cove wasn't like your sister. He wasn't that much like you either. Is Lizzie coming back? Don't know.
Aw.
Where'd she go? I think she's at the beach probably. Is she playing at her park? Cove's eyes lit up at the mention of the park, and he looked towards you. There's a park? Yeah, but it's old. Can you show me? I want to go. He started getting up before he had even answered, and Shiloh jumped up beside him in excitement. Really? You do too, right, Yui? The park is fun. I love it. The park's pretty great. No. The park's pretty great.
Yeah.
It's right at the beach, so there's a lot of fun stuff to do, and lots of sand. Ugh, sand. Why is there always sand? So, are we going to find Lizzie? I don't know. I never really went to see her. I just wanted to check the park out. Adrift without any direction, Shiloh finally turned to you. Okay. You perked up. Both boys wanted to go. It was only fair. After getting permission from your moms, the 3 of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that it was so short she could always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. Hey, Lizzie. Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. Yui, Shiloh. Hi. She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Shiloh abandoned you two and scrambled over to the stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the 3 of you, but now Cove was here. You wondered if he would leave too. Who's that? Oh, is that Lizzie? Oh, she's so cute. Oh, I love her. Oh, she's adorable. I'm happy I'm not an only child now, because she's adorable. I love her so much. It's Cove. He's new.
Hi.
I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together. She gestured wildly with her arms as to present the area to the newcomer. Without interrupting Lizzie's speech, Cove whispered in your ear quiet enough that others wouldn't overhear. I thought kids couldn't own places like parks or hills. You couldn't help but laugh a tiny bit. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas. You are?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job? Lizzie's the oldest. By a lot. My mom said you're Yui's age. Yeah. Thought so. I'm still the only one in the group with double digits. What about other kids? Oh, she's older than me, right. I forgot I'm like 8. Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Shiloh's just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try and steal your youth.
Oh.
For a second, it looked like he might cry again. But something in his eyes shifted, and he looked back at Lizzie. What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandpops? Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids. Why? We haven't done anything. Hey, I don't want kids. And that's valid. Only some of them don't like kids. Stop saying stuff like that. You're gonna upset him. Yeah, they're really bad. Only some of them don't like kids. You interjected quickly, hoping Lizzie wouldn't take things too far. Cove sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Shiloh was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Yui in school. You'll see tons of kids there once summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Shiloh looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Shiloh's discomfort at how weird she thought Cove was, at something else entirely. He didn't really know, but she laughed, face scrunching up.
Okay.
Welcome to Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet, and get used to it. You offered him a small smile, and at that, at least, looked to reassure him some. For the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Shiloh, and on some days, when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way the sun and lunch and the beach were. During your first summer together, you really liked Cove. He was a fun person to play with, and he seemed to like playing with you too. Of course, that was the only start of things. Oh! Grow up? I don't know if I want to grow up yet. Let's do shopping. Come back before it gets dark, alright, sport? The familiar voice drifted across the street and drew your attention away from the snail you've been watching inch slowly across the pavement. Hey, do you guys want to hear a fun snail fact? Snails have like 4,000 teeth, and they're actually capable of breaking bone. Yeah, the more you know. Cove waited in front of his dad, pushing his green hair back off his face from where the breeze was blowing up over his glasses. He looked to be paying only a mild amount of attention as he was being handed a few slips of green paper. It reminded you when you'd first met Mr. Holden, although he's probably not paying Cove to be friends with himself. Cove's dad seemed to feel your gaze somehow, or maybe you made a noise, because a second later his eyes were on you. He waved you over with a smile. He looked happy to see you, but you still feel a little weird for getting caught. You've got to learn how to be more sneaky. You brushed your hands together to free them of sand, and jogged over to join the two, smiling at Cove first and his dad. Yui, hi!
How's it going?
Good to see you again. What excitement are you up to today, Yui? Taking a walk. I found a pretty cool snail across the road. There's a lot of snails around here. Mr. Holden grinned at you kindly. After he finished answering the question, Mr. Holden's attention returned to Cove, who was preoccupied with folding the bills he had into a tiny rectangle. Sounds fun. You know, Cove was about to hit the stores by the beach. Why don't you go with him? You gave a ready nod, turning to squint in the direction of the stores like you could see the goods they had to offer all the way from where you stood. Oh, is that okay?
Yeah.
I don't mind. Great. I'm sure you guys will have loads of fun. Mr. Holden reached into his pocket and pulled out a leather wallet filled with money. He found it odd since your mom's only ever seemed to have cards in theirs. Here. He leaned in to press a crisp tin to Cove, giving him a wink and a whisper. Get something for your friend, too. Sure.
Good kid.
That's my boy. Take care. Cove accepted the bill after a second and slipped it into his pocket. Then with one last nod to his dad, he turned and started walking. You followed after him, intrigued at the possibilities this outing might bring. Cove strayed towards the gentle tide creeping up the sand, and he fell into place behind him. It was a nice day. The sun was shining, and there weren't many clouds in the sky, though the wind coming off the ocean kept it from being too hot. Oh, it's so pretty out. Nice. Still hate the beach, though. You took in a deep breath, enjoying the scent of salt and ocean air. When you looked at Cove, he was dragging his feet through the sand a little, and he slowed down to wait for him. His eyes searched the ground intently. Are you looking for snails? Are you looking for shells? What is it? You didn't feel like you needed to ask why. Are you looking for snails? Cove looked over at you, wrinkling his nose. Who would want something like that? I mean, I would want to see a snail at least once in my life. I haven't really seen a snail IRL in like forever, so I would love to see a snail. You felt the urge to defend the activity you've been indulging in only a short while ago. A lot of people! No way, they're weird. And you can't take them anywhere because they're bugs. You have to leave them alone. Cove chuckled to himself and that ended the discussion. You can think what he wants and you'll think your own things. Yeah, snails are poggers. The comforting sound of the waves filled the silence with pleasant white noise and he played a little game with yourself as you walked along, getting as close to the water as possible without getting wet. It resulted in you having to run up the sand quickly when a wave rushed in more than a few times, and although Cove threw a few glances your way, he didn't say a word. You didn't either. What did you want to go to the shops for? What do you usually do on the beach? What did you want to go to the shops for? I need a new sand pail. Yeah? What happened to your old one? Cove narrowed his eyes, seeming to think deeply for a second.
Well,
It disappeared. Alright. What? Really? Cove ducked his head down, lacing his fingers behind his back. It didn't seem like he was going to continue, so he nudged his arm. How'd that happen? Well... Cove opened his mouth and shut it again, considering. I took it to the beach one day. Uh-huh. When I got home, it wasn't anywhere. You left it there? Nope. It wasn't at the beach when I went back. Then you lost it. It disappeared.
so...
What about you? What do you do out here? I don't come to the beach a lot. I like swimming. I like looking at fish. I like to build sandcastles. Nothing. I don't come to the beach a lot. You like the beach fine, but you rarely went down without Lizzie. Today had been a special occasion. Why? I don't know. I guess I'm doing other stuff. Cove seemed personally offended by this revelation. The beach must matter to him a lot, but it makes sense. His name is Cove after all. Once he reached the shopping area, his noise level grew exponentially. No longer just waves and footprints, but the chatter of people enjoying the lovely summer day, the call of birds trying to find bits of food left behind, and a lot of salespeople trying to get attention. Oh, a nice little boardwalk. I mean, not really a boardwalk, just like a beach town, but still, really nice, really pretty. You sniffed the air as you went beside Cove. You could still smell the ocean. There are other scents now too. Pizza, pretzels, hot donuts. Oh, the nostalgia of going down the shore and smelling all that. I can already imagine the smell of like French fries and like funnel cake and fried Oreos. Oh, I just want to go down to the shore just for the food. It's nice, it's not very nice, it's alright. It's nice. The energy surrounding the area seemed to fill you, and there was a bounce in your steps as you began looking at all the familiar sights. There were so many things to do, you didn't know where to begin. You looked at Cove, hoping he was just as excited as you were. Cove was glancing from one side of the street to the other with a look in his aquamarine eyes that you couldn't quite work out. What's that? Cove pointed to a large crowd of people gathered near a few tables with large colorful umbrellas blooming from their middles. You couldn't see past the adults who were blocking the way, but you knew there must be something worth seeing. Without another word, the two of you hurried over to see what all the commotion was about. Feast your eyes on the amazing Alexander! In the center of the crowd was a man with a tall hat and a funny green coat that had three long tails. There was a little table next to him with a cloth hanging over it that read The Amazing Alexander in glittery golden script. Why tell people his name if it's already on a sign? Cove hummed with understanding, then turned to walk away just as the Amazing Alexander began shuffling a deck of cards. Maybe we could stay and watch? Cove glanced back at the man, and then briefly lifted his arm up off his sides before returning them to place. You grinned, waiting for him to follow you as you raced back to the stand in the crowd. With that, it began. The magic man pulled one card out of the deck, showing it to the curious onlookers. It was 4 of diamonds. Watch closely. You did, squeezing through a few of the adults onlookers to get a better view. Suddenly, the man snapped his fingers, and the card just disappeared. Whoa! The Amazing Alexander, who had just earned his title, turned his head and looked directly at you. He reached out with a kind smile. What's this behind your ear? Nothing. Tell me. You backed away. Nothing? It was true. You didn't keep anything there. You smelled like popcorn and candy where he stepped closer, and he wrinkled your nose in confusion as you watched him. He felt a tug, and he pulled the 4 diamonds out from behind your ear. What? You knew that it couldn't really have come from your ear, but you still didn't get how he'd done it. There was a light applause from the crowd, and the man gave a deep bow. This is for you. The magician plucked a pair of balloons from a clump of them and tied them to his table. They were both in the shape of dolphins instead of being a normal circle. And one for your friend too. Thank you for being my assistant. Wow. Now you're really grateful he chose you. After that, he went to someone else in the crowd. Pick a card. Any card. My uncle does that every time he visits. Not the balloons, the stuff with the cards. Cove spoke plainly while reaching over to take the dolphin that had been designated for him. Maybe it wasn't so special. Cove just ruined the fun. At least he had a fun time. Wonder if Cove's whole family was magic. At least he had a fun time. You saw a magic trick and you got a great balloon. There was more than enough to make it a worthwhile event. You thought that you could find a card to practice with, maybe you could make it disappear too. The crowd started to clear some, and you noticed at the side there was a whole rack of brightly colored kaleidoscopes on display. You picked up a kaleidoscope, picked up a Rubik's Cube, picked up a Magic 8 Ball, you walked past the toys. Magic 8 Ball. Oh, these are cool! You shifted your balloon string to the other hand so you could hold it up in front of you. Then you thought of a question in mind, shaking the balloon and hearing some kind of liquid slosh around inside. Once you had given it a good shake, you held it upright, waiting for the answer to appear. Concentrate and ask again. You wrinkled your nose and set the Magic 8 Ball back on the rack. It wasn't the answer you were hoping for. You followed Cove around to the other side of the stall. Do you have places like this in your old home? Are you having fun? I don't really like it here. He said nothing. Did you have places like this in your old town? Cove blinked at you for a moment, and you wondered if you shouldn't have asked. You knew how much he missed that place. Not really. You nodded understanding, looking over at the stalls nearby. Aww! Plushies! While Cove looked at the sand pails, you were drawn to the table with colorful keychains laid out on it. They are sewn in the shape of sea creatures, and there's a plaque that read, "Handmade," standing proudly in front. There are lots of different types. You saw a dolphin, a shark, a crab, and a turtle. I like the dolphin. Your hand stopped on the dolphin, so similar to your balloon animal. It was made of a bright material that caught the sunlight when you picked it up. You remember that once seeing a pod of dolphins swimming out into the distance at the beach, jumping out of the water and splashing as they dived back in again. Oh, are these like one of those like sparkly stuffed animals? Like they have like the glitter sewn into like the fabric? Because if so, then that's cute. I like that. You were instantly enamored. Checking the price though, your heart fell. $6. You didn't know how much about money, but you thought that was a lot to spend on one thing. You really had more than a $5 bill to your name. Is that what you want? Huh? Oh, it's $6. I didn't bring any money.
Alright.
It's fine. Really? Really? Are you sure? Hooray! You don't have to. I don't want you to get it from me. You don't have to. Cove didn't mind that. He took the keychain from your hands, and that was that. He was holding a small yellow bucket for himself, too. I was gonna get you something. I already got the money for it. You smiled. Please have things work out. Aww, he treated me. How cute. It was nice of Cove's dad to let Cove buy something for you, too. You have to remember to thank him next time you saw him. After Cove paid, the two of you stepped out of the store side by side, your balloon dolphins knocking together and spiraling around in the air. You watched Cove hold up his new pail to his face, examining it thoroughly. Hey, Cove. Yeah? Your dad gives out money a lot, huh? I really like this keychain. Never mind. Your dad gives out money a lot, huh? From what you've seen, that happens a lot with Mr. Holden. You've never met anyone who shares dollar bills with people all the time. Oh damn, is Daddy Holden a frickin' billionaire? If so, then she! Looking a lot more handsome now. For a second, you thought about mentioning the way you and his father had met, but decided against it. That was meant to be a secret, and you felt like your feelings might have been hurt if your parents were offering to pay people to be your friend. Cove looked further down the street, where different food carts were lined up. He rested his non-cast arm over his stomach, and just as he did, yours let out its light growl. You hadn't eaten since breakfast, and after all of this wandering around, you were definitely ready for some lunch. Let's go get some food. Yeah. The two of you wandered around a short while, looking at all the delicacies that were available. Everything looked delicious, and as the different smells, both sweet and salty, wafted over you, your stomach growled even louder. After passing up hot dogs, snow cones, ice cream, and pizza, you both agreed on pretzels. Cove got something sweet and cinnamon, and you? Got a plain one with cheese, one with sprinkles. I got the same. I like cinnamon pretzels. You licked your lips hungrily as the vendor handed you your pretzel over, ready to take a big bite. Your mom didn't like you to eat too much sugar, but this is a special occasion. The little cup of icing looked too delicious to pass on. You found an empty table close enough to the beach that the grit of the sand made terrible noises when you dragged the chairs out to sit. These balloons are going to make it hard to eat. Cove placed his bucket on the table, and as he stared at his still balled up hand that was wrapped around the string, you opened your mouth to agree before an idea hit you. I know! After carefully placing your pretzel somewhere it wouldn't get sandy, you took the balloon dolphin out of Cove's hand and tied it in a delicate bow around his wrist.
Oh.
Cove bounced his arm up and down in place, testing your stability of your knot. After watching his balloon jostle around but remained attached, he smiled satisfied. Can you do it for me? He repeated this ritual. Cove struggled somewhat with the cast restricting his fingers on one hand and the string already tangled around the other. Got it! The two of you spent a moment admiring your handiwork, both hands now free to allow easy munching on your pretzels. After a time, you finished your pretzel. You were done before Cove. It was boring not having anything to do. You pulled on the string of your balloon to bring it down to your level. Then you held the dolphin in your hands, manipulating it to make it look like it was jumping through the air. If he turned out to face toward the beach, it almost looked like it was swimming in the waves like a real dolphin. A laugh came from your side. When he glanced back at Cove, he had left the remaining part of his pretzel on the wrapper, and he was gripping his dolphin too. My name is Merryweather. He's the prince of the dolphins. My name is Flash. They star in movies. My name is Cherry. She's actually an alien. My name is Sam, and you're just a regular dolphin. My name is Merryweather, and he's the prince of the dolphins. He wears a crown made of seaweed, and all of his friends are merfolk. Every now and then, he'll make friends with a kid and let them ride on his back. You sighed, wishing you could meet a real dolphin like Merryweather. What's yours? Cove considered the question, placing the balloon against the table and resting his free arm against it in contemplation. It's... With a loud pop, the dolphin exploded into ribbons. Oh no! No, Cove! Aw, this poor dolphin. I guess the heat made the thing explode. Because heat does that with, like, balloons and, like, rubbery things. It can, like, make things pop. And speaking of pop, I'm gonna pop Sap's head in because he redeemed the bottom collar! But yeah, that reminds me of, like, this one time. I just left Walmart with my mom and my younger sister. I think I was around, like, 13 at the time. My sister was, like, 3. So yeah, we just left Walmart, and we were in the car, and it was a really hot day. And my mom got my little sister a ball because, you know, she was throwing a tantrum, and my mom liked to enable her at that age. Anyway, so my sister was holding onto my ball, and I was, like, sitting up front with my mom. And it was a really hot day, and just as we were driving, like, it was, like, all quiet, suddenly we heard a loud pop. My mom almost swerved because it scared the shit out of her, and the next thing we hear was my sister screaming. We looked back, and we saw her, like, holding, like, the deflated, like, ball. Like, bruh. The poor ball. And my poor sister. For a second, all Cove did was gape in shock like you. And his cheeks puffed up, squinting his eyes, and he saw tears start to glisten. No, Cove! You it. He made a joke. He offered to find Alexander. You offered to give Cove your balloon. He didn't say anything. He would be alright. You offered to give Cove your balloon. Yeah, because I already have another dolphin. You looked at Cove, then up to your balloon, bobbing gently in the air above you. You can have mine. That was better than letting him cry more. Cove sniffled, glancing up at the balloon, then back at you. No, it's yours. I don't want to take it from you. It's okay, really. Cove shook his head. Even though that wasn't your fault, you felt bad. Still, the offer still seemed to lift Cove's spirit, and that was good. The passing of Cove's balloon was the last major event of your adventure. Can we get some F's in the chat for Cove's balloon? In the end, the two of you headed back like that afternoon. You separated onto the beach, and while Cove went straight home with his brand new sand pail in hand, you decided to sit for a while. You watched the waves and the sunset fiddled with your new keychain. Another summer day was drawing to a close. It had been a good one, except for the final sad note. Alright! Let's do another one. Grown up. One sweltering summer day, you were in your living room with Cove, listening to the sounds of the birds chattering outside the window while you lay across the rug on the floor. Cove's dad had dropped him off earlier, and your moms had left the two of you alone with Lizzie to play amongst yourselves. It had been too hot to go outside in the afternoon, at least according to Mommy, so your sister was starting to get impatient waiting for her golf class that evening. Oh, she plays golf! Cute! The three of you had trouble finding something fun to do. The beach and the playground were off limits, and you felt that it was too warm for anything like playing with your fuzzy toy animals. Then suddenly, a light came across Lizzie's big brown eyes, and her smile spread across her face. Since we're stuck inside, we should be adults. They don't play outdoors anyways. They're always inside, telling everybody they're too busy to play. Oh, so that's what grown up means. Oh, we're gonna play house or something. Aw, that should be cute.
Why?
Duh.
I said why, and it'll be fun. Duh. What do they do inside that we don't? Besides, use phones a lot. Excluding a small hub, Lizzie decides to ignore Cove.
What do you think?
Do you want to? Cove said it doesn't sound fun. I thought we could come up with something else. I don't know. I want to. I don't know. Please, Yui. When have I ever had a bad idea? Whenever we play with you? Oh, burn! Oh, damn, Cove, my favorite sass master. I wasn't asking you. I'll try it, but that sounds boring. Okay, I'll stay. Sorry, if I have other stuff to do, you keep hesitating. I'll try it, but that sounds boring. It's not gonna be, I guarantee. Lizzie seemed more determined than ever, and you could only sigh. Satisfied that neither of you were about to bail on her, Lizzie thought over her options while you watched. After a few seconds, she clapped her hands together and beamed, apparently having settled on something without asking either of you.
Okay.
I'm gonna be a professional golfer. Yui, you and Cove can be a beach volleyball player, a gymnast, or a tennis player. Why can't we pick anything we want? Because I have a fun idea, that's why. And we have to play sports as adults? Yep. There's other kinds of sports too.
Right?
It isn't the same. What do you think, Yui? Don't those choices sound super cool? You want to be that, huh? I kind of like those. It really doesn't. It kind of sounds like a blast. Anything else we can be? Not, maybe not. Is there anything else we could be? Lizzie stomped a foot on the ground. Nope, come on, just that already. Knowing Lizzie wouldn't let go of this anytime soon, you sighed. Cove was not impressed with Lizzie's attitude, though. He didn't bother talking about it for now. He thought over the list of possibilities. Beach volleyball, gymnastics, or tennis. Out of all of them, you preferred to play gymnastics. If you couldn't spend the afternoon doing cartwheels and handstands in the background, then you might as well practice them inside. There wouldn't be as much space as there was outside, but you could still try. Yes, that was clearly the top option. Okay, I'm gonna be a gymnast.
Alright.
How about you, Cove? I picked volleyball. I should have known. Okay, so Yui, you're a famous gymnast, and Cove, you're on a popular volleyball team, and Lizzie's ponytail bobbed as she practically stretched her arms wide. We're Olympic athletes who just competed in the Olympics. Is golf even in the Olympics? I don't know, I'll have to Google it. Cove didn't seem all that impressed with the announcement. He made a face and adjusted the glasses on his nose. That's really specific.
Rude.
That's what makes it fun. Anyway, Lizzie marched back and forth in front of the both of you, getting lost in her own imagination. I won all the gold medals, and people are calling me the next Mickey Wright. Who's that? Lizzie stopped on the spot and turned on him, her brown eyes shining with impatience. It doesn't matter if you know who she is. It's a golf thing. You guys won medals too. Cove, your team was bronze, and you probably barely missed out on the gold and got silver. It's more real if we're not all first place. Then I want to be first place then. You can be like silver. Then again, you actually play a sport, so I guess that makes sense. Silver sucks. I don't want silver. I'm okay with that. Hey, we can do better than silver. Silver's not bad. Nice. You stay silent. Hey, we can do better than silver. You powed at Lizzie, unhappy with the decision. Yui's right.
Sorry.
Lots of people lose at the Olympics. Them's the breaks. Then you're the one who did, not me. Lizzie looked taken aback at Cove's declaration, as though the thought of her losing was completely absurd. No way! It wouldn't make sense. I'm already practicing my golf game. She took a golfing stance to make her point, pretending to swing her club and hit an invisible ball. So what kind of house do you want to live in? Cove hadn't changed his mind about winning, but thinking about where he'd lived as an adult appealed to him, apparently because he looked back at Lizzie with some of the anger fading. I'm going to live on the beach. Lizzie made a face at him, poking out her tongue. That's kind of boring. We already have that. No, not like the normal houses here with a street on it, right on the sand, by the water. Just like that, all the tension was back. He hadn't even had a chance to choose where he want to live. That's not very fun or smart, Cove. You can live on a bunch of sand and shells. But I want to, and I will. Cove narrowed his eyes at Lizzie even though she stood half a head taller than him. Ooh, cat fight! Kitty fight! 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 You didn't give out a list of things to pick from this time, so I'm picking that. Why are we even playing pretend if we can't even imagine anything?
Jeez.
Well, I'm gonna live in a mansion far away from here and far away from you. One with an indoor pool and a place to practice my award-winning golfing.
It's not fair.
How come you were yelling about mine when your idea is even more impossible? Lizzie's face flushed red, her hands balling into fists at her sides. Oh, damn! Cove is just laying into her. It is not impossible, and it's better than yours. Disagreements always seemed to crop out when the two of them were together, and you always felt like you were stuck in the middle. But when it comes to the topic at hand, this time you thought, for a mansion, being on the beach is cooler, you wanted to agree with Lizzie. Cove was right, you were tired to decide between either of them. Let's see, you're tired to decide between either of them. You didn't engage with their bickering, instead dreamt up your own dream house. You're going to share your idea with them, either. You already knew it wasn't a good one. You can swim whenever you want to if you live on the beach. Well, we can swim anytime we want from where we live now. Being a little closer doesn't mean anything, says you. Two of them scolded at each other. You're being so unreasonable. You... I don't get what you want. This game doesn't make sense. It does! You have to be realistic. I said that. But you're not. You have no idea what to do to make them stop at this point. It seemed like the two of them would just keep working each other up as long as they could. Nothing had said so far had kept them from being mad. Thankfully, like a greeting card, Angel Mom walked into the room. Lizzie rushed to her, hanging onto the hem of her shirt, poking out her tongue at Cove. Lizzie, Yui, it's time to get ready to go.
Alright with that?
Sorry you have to leave already, Cove. Their mommy said she'll walk you home, so you won't be left in the cold. Cove was still glaring at Lizzie, his face flushed with, red with anger. I can go by myself. But,
Bye.
bye. No, Cove! There was still a harsh edge to the brief farewell, but you knew it wasn't you he was mad at. Without giving Mom a chance to stop him, Cove stood up and stalked out of the room, shoulders drawn tight.
Huh?
Okay? Worried, Mom turned to look down at you and Lizzie. You two were playing nice with your new friend, weren't you? You told the truth. We were playing pretend and things got intense. They were like cats and dogs. Your sister's jaw dropped, looking betrayed, as Mom both put her hands on her hips. Elizabeth! I told you to be kind to him. He's having a hard time right now. Lizzie's mouth closed back up, replaced by a tiny frown. I know, I tried, but he was... No buts. We both know you can show someone a great time when you put your mind to it. We're going to apologize to Cove and his dad over the phone when he gets home from work tonight. Lizzie hung her head, dragging a foot across the ground in front of her. Okay, Mom. Good girl. You caught pieces of Lizzie sulking to herself about how it was his fault too, but it was over. Alright, we better get a move on.
Let's go.
Nalani, where'd you leave the car keys? Mom hustled you all out the door, and you noticed during the car ride to golf practice that Lizzie was quieter than usual. She's usually the first one to request which music to listen to in the car, but she didn't say a thing. Your parents noticed she wasn't in the mood to be bothered. They gave her space, and Mommy just asked what you'd like to listen to. You picked your favorite song. It always made the car ride more fun. You chose the soundtrack to a cool movie you saw a couple months ago. You chose a song you knew Lizzie would like. Maybe that could cheer her up. This one. Because, it's my chance to shine this time. Eventually, Lizzie came around and started singing along with you. You both knew all the words, and your moms even sang along too. When the car ride was over, you spent the twilight hour watching Lizzie hit things with the other girls her age. You didn't know how much about golf, but you could tell that she really liked it, so you sat with your moms and tried to puzzle it out. It was nice sitting outside after being cooped up in the house all day, and you stretched out your legs to let the last few minutes of sun warm your skin. When the sun was finally out of sight, dipping beyond the horizon, you all got ready to leave. Instead of going straight home, your mom took the family out to dinner. You went to a restaurant you had all been going to ever since you could remember. The whole afternoon had been a bunch of shouting you hadn't been able to stop, but you could kind of tell that this helped Lizzie be less angry. The car ride home was quiet, with only the car radio providing escape from silence. Lizzie had been in better spirits now, but the closer you got to your neighborhood, the more she wiggled in her seat and frowned out the window. She knew it was coming when you all got back home. Clearly she was dreading it. Soon enough, Mom was turning onto your street when reversing into the driveway. When she cut the ignition, it was dead silent. No one spoke. Only unbuckled their seatbelts and opened the doors. Lizzie was the last one out. Once everyone was inside and done taking off the shoes, she propped her hands on her hips.
So,
Now then, Mr. Holden's car is in his driveway, so he should be back from work. That's good news, isn't it, Elizabeth? You and Cove can hash things out before the day's done. Lizzie didn't complain or put up a fight. Her head ducked so she didn't have to meet anyone's eyes. She nodded once. Good. Let's move this to the kitchen. Mom went out to the house phone, and the rest of you following behind her, Mommy put a gentle hand on Lizzie's shoulder as they walked side by side. You watched them from the back. This was only happening because you told on Lizzie. You didn't regret it. You felt a little guilty, like you had betrayed your sister. You hadn't liked doing it, but had to. But it was her fault for doing it in the first place. You felt a little guilty, like you had betrayed your sister. Yeah. You could still remember the look on Lizzie's face. There is no doubt she felt that way about it. You and your sister didn't always get along, but you cared about each other. This wouldn't change that, you thought. The four of you stood around the kitchen in a lopsided square. All eyes were on Lizzie, who kept her gaze on the feet. You remember the number for Cove's house, don't you, honey? Lizzie jerked her head into another nod, sullen. Without further prompting, she stepped forward and began to dial. Mom reached over and pressed a button on the base. Suddenly, you could hear the phone ringing. She turned on the speaker. The phone rang a couple times and stopped. Mr. Holden's warm voice came through the other end. Evening, Holding residence. Lizzie looked over at Mommy, unsure. She nodded encouragingly. Hi, Mr. Holden. It's, Lizzie. Can I talk to Cove?
Absolutely.
Lizzie Nyampasu? What a surprise! But of course you can say hey to the boy. He sounded cheery as usual, though definitely meant it when he said it was a surprise. He thought hard that you were sure that your sister had never called Cove's house before. Mom spoke up before Mr. Holden or Lizzie could say anything more. Her arms were crossed over her chest, her lips pursed. Hi, Cliff, Nalani, Yui and I are here too. Good evening, we're sorry to bother you so late. You spoke up to say hello too? You said nothing to Cove's dad. I'll say hello. Hi, Mr. Holden. The gang's all here, huh? Is something the matter? His voice grew a bit concerned. Mommy was quick to reassure him. No, well, yes, but it's going to be okay. Lizzie and Cove got into a bit of a fight today. We were hoping that the two of them could talk and make up. Is this a good time for you and Cove?
What?
A fight? Cove didn't tell me anything about that when I came home. That'll explain why the funk he's been in tonight. He chuckled lightly. Despite that, he didn't seem like he really thought it was funny. Anyway, it's good. You didn't catch us up at a bad time. I'll go grab him for you. There was some shuffling on the other end. He must have not gotten far because you could still hear him calling out. Cove, there's someone on the phone for you. After a beat of silence, there was more muffled talking from Cove's dad. Come on, bud. Lizzie's called out just to talk to you.
Are you sure?
Yui's on the other end listening too. Don't you want to say hi? Took a bit of back and forth though. The conversation seemed one-sided since you both couldn't hear Cove properly. Eventually, Cove took the phone from his dad.
Hi.
Hello? Hey, it's Lizzie. Yeah, I know. Dad told me. Cove's tone was defensive. Lily turned to Mom, scowling. One stern look from her, though, and Lizzie turned away.
Sorry.
I just called to say I'm sorry for not playing nice with you today. I won't do it again. Lizzie's eyes were downcast, her voice low. You could tell she felt uncomfortable apologizing to Cove in front of everyone. She was still being genuine about feeling bad. Cove must have realized that too, because he sighed quietly. Me and Yui should get gold too. That's right, Lizzie had kept denying you two what you deserved. Lizzie was momentarily stunned silent by the demand. Probably forgot that had happened earlier already. Alright, we all win the gold. Okay, I guess I'm sorry too. A sense of relief washed over everyone at this acceptance of the apology. Mom uncrossed her arms while Mommy's shoulders relaxed. Lizzie's eyebrows raised up. You wondered if she thought that he'd refuse her apology. Dad, can I get off the phone now? You couldn't see him, but it was obvious that Cove felt awkward about the situation. He had come off uncomfortable the entire time, really.
Yeah.
You can go back to your room if you want to. Be sure to say goodbye first, though. Bye, Lizzie. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Yui. He perked up at the mention of your name. He smiled even though he couldn't see it. Bye, Cove. With that said, Cove must have handed the phone to his dad and left, since Mr. Holden spoke up.
That's a relief.
All's well that ends well, as they say. Thanks for arranging this. I'm sure he appreciates it. As Mom replied, Lizzie tugged on Mommy's hand to catch her attention. Can I go now, too?
Good job.
Sure, sweetie. Thank you so much for apologizing to Cove. Mom flashed a brief smile at Lizzie and nodded her agreement. Given permission to leave, Lizzie scurried off towards the stairs. She seemed to be feeling much better with the incident behind her. Mom and Mommy returned to the phone, taking it off the speaker. They continued talking to Mr. Holden. You couldn't tell what about. You're glad that was the end of it all. Lizzie and Cove might not get along, and probably still won't, but they weren't mad at each other anymore. Mom and Mommy weren't upset either. Everything was finally back to normal. With that thought, you retreated to your own room with a spring into your step. Alright! We got 3 more to do. Alright, let us continue with Long Day. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished 1 cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. With that Lizzie around, Shiloh looked to you for all the answers. It made you feel pleased, frustrated, nothing really. Pleased. You might not be in the double digits like your sister, but he was only 7. Being the oldest and getting to be the leader was a nice change of pace. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet. Something like ice cream! Nothing beats a classic creamery scoop of ice cream on a day like this. There is nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look, your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Outside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be attained, but there were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. You sighed, you voiced your predicament out loud, you asked Shiloh for help. You voiced your predicament out loud. I want an ice cream cone. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up.
Yeah.
That sounds good. We don't have anything like that in the house, and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Shiloh rummaged into his back pocket and produced an assortment of coins, plus 1 straight button. You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1, you announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, and he'd been watching you exponentially. It's not enough. It's a start. It's a start. Shiloh beamed at you. We'll need to find some more. Okay. The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scorched the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust, or sandy crumbs. Every so often or two, you would strike silver or bronze and add to the growing pile of coins. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pulling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as he counted the coins again. $2.53 and 2 buttons. Is that enough? You figured that he knew the answer, but you appreciate him recognizing your authority on financial and ice cream matters. You straightened up before making your pronouncement. Yeah, we've got enough. You can now afford something at the shops, just one thing, but that was indefinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands. Yay! The two of you dashed outside. The promise of sugar buoyed you onto your destination where breathless but happy. You stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed to the bun to the tree. He seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting an ice cream cone? Shiloh asked as though he was entirely separate from the decision rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. You went ahead and got what you wanted originally. Are you really sure it's okay? You tried to get something you both wanted anyway. Yeah, we need to get something that we both like. It wasn't fair for you to be the only one to decide when he'd been a main factor in making this happen. Some of the money came directly from his backpack. What'd you like? All of them. They're so good. You pressed further. But what do you really like? Popsicles or ice cream? Which one's your favorite? It's so hard to pick. I don't know. Frustrated, you cut to the heart of the matter. You want me to choose? Yeah. And that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally and hoped Shiloh would actually like it too. Finally, the reward from all your hard work was in your hands. You laughed at the soft ice cream and the sweetness perked you up. You held it out to Shiloh so he could take a turn and he shook his head.
You can finish it.
But bruh, it's your ice cream too, dude. Come on. You didn't want any after everything you did to get it? That was weird. You tried to include Shiloh, you hesitated. Even if Shiloh said it's okay, every story you'd ever seen on TV or read in a book said that sharing was caring. You stood your ground, even as the treat started to trickle dangerously toward your fingers. It's only fair that you have some, we both bought it. But you wanted it more than I do, and getting to play was a lot of fun already, so you can have it, that's more fair. Aw, Shiloh, you little sweetie. I want you to have some even more than I want to finish it, so eat your part. Relenting, Shiloh took the treat and gave it a taste. His eyes lit up.
Thank you.
It's really good, thank you. You smiled, pleased with your good deed. You picked the best one. Did he mean that? Shiloh was always nice no matter what happened. Even if he hated it, you know he wouldn't say so. Maybe he thought it was gross, and that's the real reason why he didn't want to take some. He had no idea. You studied him as he ate a little more. He had every appearance of enjoying himself. Still weird. The two of you began to head back home as he ate. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say or what he felt, or he was too afraid. You figured that was his problem, didn't care. Are you scared of me? You thought this was kind of sad. Are we friends? You thought this was kind of sad. Not being able to talk to people isn't fun, and he didn't want to be the kind of person people were scared to tell their honest opinion to. You considered asking Shiloh about it, but it couldn't give an opinion on something like ice cream that he wasn't going to open up about this. You hoped for the best. Maybe you're wrong, or if you were right, maybe he'd hope he'd feel better about it soon. Shiloh made you unsure about settling a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times, and there had been confusing ones. You're positive one thing at least. The treat was delicious, and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizons as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw the tears on Cove's face. You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Lizzie, what did you do? Once there, you defended Cove, take a moment to make a joke, accused Lizzie of causing trouble. I carefully asked about what happened. Without a time machine, the only way you're going to find out what was happening was by asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or even come to Cove's aid. You wanted to hear the story. Cove, what happened? Yui, I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction on a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out that condo for the summer. You, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair particularly took offense to kids. It didn't matter if they were really nice to Cove. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. I was helping. That's cool. Is there anything I can do?
No.
I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach him a lesson. There's a devilish glint in her eyes. Oh god, Lizzie, what are you planning? Are you planning on fucking with the boomers? And can I help? What? You should dig dong dish them. Go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're so slow and they'll never catch you. Oh, we're gonna ding dong ditch them? Oh, that's genius. Let's do that. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a chicken.
Excuse me? Cove glared, but then take that bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not chicken, are you? Yeah, cluck cluck. You'd rather just avoid them. You thought they deserved worse. I'll do it. Really? You took a deep breath and nodded. Lizzie squealed with delight. Well, go hide. Run as soon as you hit the bell. Good luck. Lizzie and Shiloh ran across the road to take shelter in the bushes. Even once they're settled down, you can make out two child-sized shapes staring from between the leaves. You know where to look for them, though, so you told yourself that the grouchy old people wouldn't spot it. Cove sighed, his glaze flicking to the house and then back at you. Be careful. I'll be quick as a flash. I hope I trip along the way. That'd be hilarious. He gave the door and you one last look before joining Lizzie and Shiloh in their hideaway. The weight of 3 pairs of eyes on your back was heavier than anything you carried before as you approached the door. You hesitated as you reached the doorbell, then... You rung it! You slapped the buzzer and ran. Blood thumped against your eardrums with every step. Would you make it in time? Approaching the hiding spot, you knew that there wasn't time to go around the bushes as the others had done. You took a shortcut, leaping over them. Or to be more accurate, crashing into the tops of the bushes and then falling over to the other side. Cove quietly hissed as you went unwittingly colliding into them. But by the way his arms were out, it seemed like he had intentionally tried to cushion your landing. Shh! Lizzie put a finger to her lips and nodded at the house. You disentangled your limbs from Cove's and spun around to see the old man framed in the doorway, peering back and forth suspiciously. You covered your mouth with your hands so it wasn't enough to stifle your giggles. Maybe he spotted one of you, or maybe it was the leaves you displaced while jumping, but he locked eyes with the bush and stormed over in your direction. Shiloh gasped and looked at Lizzie. Oh shit, we were caught! Run. Your sister did not hesitate to take her own advice, neither did Shiloh. You got up, but seeing Cove struggling to extract himself and stand up with just the one fully functional arm, you gave him a hand up before taking up after the others. The old man's hollers propelled you from all the streets to the sanctuary of the hill. Only once you were safe did you notice that the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs. You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The 4 of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin. Cove lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandpas around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined into the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew that you'd be second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lily came around. It always went like that. And it was fine, you thought. But you still felt a little sad after how much time you spent together today. And it was always annoying. You had been hoping the two of you might have become closer, but you had to let it go. He was happy where he was. There were other things to attend to anyway. You wriggled closer to Cove. He had calmed down for the most part and was expecting a flower. His fingers pinched the stem and tilted the white petals toward him. That's a poppy! Cove glanced at you in acknowledgement, then back to the flower. And the type of poppies on this hill has the name White Linen Poppy. Mom told me. He cracked a smile. That's funny. He ran a finger around the edge of the petals. It doesn't feel like cloth. You need a lot of them to make anything. He nodded and released the delicate plant. Evaluation complete. This is my favorite kind of flower, but I didn't know what it was called. Thanks. It's mine too. I like roses. Oh, there's a lot of options here. It's mine too. I like roses. Buttercups are really great. My favorite is snapdragons. Hibiscuses are the best. Peonies are pretty. I love sunflowers. I'd pick tulips. Orchids are the most plentiful. Oh, you can type your own. I like all flowers. I don't really care about flowers. I didn't know what my mom tells me. I like roses. They smell really nice. Those are fancy flowers. You look good with them. Ooh, Cove. Thanks. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. A blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be safe. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin, you saw a car, you saw an alpaca, you saw a smiley face, you saw cloud shapes. An alpaca! You saw a fluffy alpaca in the sky. You nudged Clove and pointed to it. Can you see the alpaca? Cove joined you in gazing skywards.
Whoa.
It's more like a llama. Hey! You chuckled at your reaction. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs, and surveyed her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Let's go to the beach! There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You wanted to go there too, were too tired to argue, were happy to do what the others wanted, objected to the plan. I'd go with everyone else. The beach wouldn't necessarily have been where you chose to go next, but if it was what the others wanted, then you weren't going to spoil the fun. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sandcastles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The four of you kicked those shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. Oh, your hair would be so damaged. Like, you know, like when you like go into the beach and like you dip your hair in the water, it like feels like all like crinkly and shit like that. It'll probably still feel like that, but like feel more like stiff. That would be bad for the fish. Oh yeah, the fish. That too. I didn't say anyone would do it. Jeez, you don't have to be serious about everything. You're the one who asked what would happen. This is what would happen. It hurt the fishies. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. Man, I like bubble baths too, even as an adult. Though I usually like get them like during like the colder seasons because, you know, like when it's like cold out, you just need like something like warm to relax in after a long day. You never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy. What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by waves. Even as Shiloh never seemed upset when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms. It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Yui. I don't have a dad, but I don't have two moms. I just have one. She's really great. Oh, sorry. I only have one now too. My mom's in here. She's back home. It's just my dad with me.
Sorry.
I never had a dad or anything, so I don't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. You joked about Shiloh's mom getting together with Cove's dad. Even if you're all different, our parents are all good in our own ways. You didn't say anything. Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways.
Yeah.
Cove couldn't muster a response. You don't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and solid sand splattered against your toes. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. You retaliated. You used your foot to smack your water pulling around you, sending an arch of sea foam flowing back at your sister. You laughed as she sputtered, some of the salty sea water having landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Yuck! Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down to the coast, taking in the turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh or Cove. Alliances were silently forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war. Shiloh's brief exclamation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first onto the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog coming in from the rain, as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head, and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see him. That was crazy, are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over. Way to go, Shiloh, you Dumbo! You offered to help him up some, let him get up by himself. I'll help him up. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. After a moment, you dropped it. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice and held her hand out to Shiloh, too. He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself up from the ground. Then, he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them. Hey!
Sorry.
What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low. There's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose, then pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove from laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. Before he made the journey back home, leaving a trail of wet footprints in the sand in your wake. Damp clothes may have weighed down some of the group, but your spirits were high. Your arms swung side to side as a cool breeze flowed past. Your moms were outside, chatting to Cove's dad. "We're back!" Your mom's faces all fell as they took in the state you were all in, raging from messy to soak.
No.
Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach back with you. They certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home, cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant that she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he ruffled Cove's mettled hair. You and I making memories, bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Aw, he's such a good dad. I love him. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed that he'd even gotten wet. Now he was worried too. Oh yeah, because you can't let cats get wet, right? I think they could have at least found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right, kids. What can you do? Come on, Cove. Let's get you cleaned up and dried off. Wouldn't want that cast to be reset. Cove winced at the thought. Okay. Attaboy. Mr. Holden casually bent down and plucked Cove up from the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sam was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble.
Take care.
Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Night, Neon Posse family, and Shiloh too. Resigned by his fate, Cove twisted his body in his dad's arms in order to turn around and wave goodbye. Smiling, he waved back. Good night.
Fine, fine.
Well, we better do what we can to fix you guys up too. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom.
Ugh.
Yes, Mom. Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet in the mat this time. That won't do too much tonight. That won't be too much tonight. Sitting on an old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would watch first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come back to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat for once. Lizzie, being much more than stoked than you, got to go into the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she had hoped. This was a no fun allowed cleanup session. At least that's what she claimed. Not much longer and it would have been your turn. When the bath was done, you had to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you're glad there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Let's do Sandcastle. Cove wasn't able to do many things that summer. When you, him, and Shiloh sat out on the shoreline one bright morning, you could tell him that he wanted to be in the water. But there was no way he'd be swimming anytime soon, not with his cast. The waves washed a single shell to shore, glittering in blue, another reminder of the places he couldn't go. From what you'd heard about Cove's old life so far, in tiny places and fragments, you could tell that he'd do anything to be able to get the cast off. Like, make a pact with a witch or something, just to get it off his arm. You thought about how this summer last year must have been really totally different from this, with his old home and his mom and dad. But now he was here, with you and Shiloh and Lizzie and everyone else, and he couldn't even go in the sea. This town wasn't bad, it had all your favorite things in it, but sitting there on the beach you'd grown up, you could understand that not everybody else felt the same way about Sunset Bird as you did. You watched him from the corner of your eye quietly, and he finally said aloud what you had been pondering. I wish I could go in. The water? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, you're gonna be able to do it soon. Cove only sighed in response. Apparently soon wasn't soon enough. It's so pretty, the ocean. And huge. There could be anything out there, like mermaids. Ocean didn't have a cast, I don't really care. Swimming might be fun if we could. I'm fine here on land, mermaids aren't real. I wish you didn't have a cast. Me too. Obviously not interested in hearing much more of your input on the situation, Cove turned back to the water. But as he looked away, something about Shiloh's slow, careful movements caught his eye. Hey, are you building a sandcastle? Sort of. I was only playing around while you were talking. I'm listening. Maybe I could too. I've only made big piles before. It's nothing really special. I'm sure you'll be good at it right away. Well, how do you do it then? Shiloh's cheeks lit up. You could tell he was a little bit uncomfortable to have Cove's expectant stare onto him. I'll play too. I love making sand stuff. I've never really made one before, just something else to do. I love making sand stuff. I don't do a lot. Here's how I like to get a house started. Shiloh, focusing more intently than you'd ever seen him, guided Cove through his process. You happily used your own method. It didn't take long for the three of you each to have humble structures prepared. That's all, kind of. You can do anything now, like make it bigger, add some seashells, carve a pretty pattern. I bet you'll have great ideas.
Okay.
I'm gonna make it bigger. Mine's gonna be a real castle. This is gonna be a house. Looking at the base of your sand castle, you decided to make a house, a castle, a mansion. Castle! Looking at the base of your sand castle, you decided to build a fancy castle. The better part of the next hour was spent focusing on your own work. The boys were the same. Even Shiloh didn't sneak as many peeks at everyone else as he usually did. You finished shaping before either of them did, glancing from what you built. Oh! Look at my little sandcastle! That's adorable! It seems you got done so fast because they already started around for extra decorations. Shiloh had grabbed most of the really interesting stuff, and Cove had a lot of the shells, but there were still options. The first thing he reached out there was, green piece of sea glass. It was the best fit for your castle, he decided. It was see-through and sparkly, so he put it in a funny place, where it'd take a second to look to see it. Pleased with the result, you finally took a proper look around that wasn't focused on the sand itself. Both Cove and Shiloh seemed more immersed still. You knew you could probably sneak a peek at either one's work. I want to look at Cove's sandcastle. The castle Cove had built looked surprisingly tidy, especially for someone in a cast. He must have worked really hard. He wasn't even finished digging the huge gaping moat in front, but it was already enormous. You got the sense from getting enthusiasm that he was digging that at the door that was probably going to find a bunch of sand when he finally removed the pink plaster. The silence was then broken. What's on top of yours, Shiloh? You peeked closer and discovered something shiny sticking out of Shiloh's sand chimney. Oh, it's just a gum wrapper. It looks like smoke. Oh, that's clever. Cute.
Neat.
That's good. That's smart. Yeah, I didn't think of that. I guess I don't see it. You should be an architect. It kind of looks more like a worm. You should be an architect. You'd be good at it, Shiloh. Shiloh smiled without a word. And that was that for that current topic. Good talk. Yui, can I see what you did? Sure. You scooted just a bit nearer and began surveying your work. The castle you built was pretty impressive, all things considered. It had archways, tall walls, and even a little moat circling it. You probably would feel safe living there. Maybe your moms were the queens. Shiloh quickly decided to jump into a new conversation. Hey Yui, what'd you do? This is my castle. Shiloh didn't look so happy anymore. You both built castles? Yeah. Aw, it's neat how you guys met. It's too bad we didn't all do it. Next time we should. Wouldn't that be boring? If something is the only one of that thing, that'd make it special. Yeah, for sandcastles and stuff. People too. My dad always says how everybody is their own man, a real individual. I don't think I'm very special. Are you kidding me? You got all those little freckles. You're just a funny little guy, Shiloh.
Why?
Nobody else is you. Shiloh simply shook his head. I'm not different. A beat passed between the two. Cove then looked down at his own work again. Okay. He didn't seem to be bothered leaving his disagreement hanging there. Cove had other things on his mind. My dad tried to get me to make sandcastles the first time we came to this beach. I didn't want to. Cove trailed off. Again, there was another moment of silence. Shiloh shifted and opened his mouth to say something, but Cove spoke up before he could. You didn't think he noticed that Shiloh was going to talk. Hey, do you know what happened when your mom sent my dad, Yui? You waited to see if Shiloh would say what he wanted to. When he didn't, you considered Cove's question. I wasn't there. They didn't tell me. I just remember what happened when I met your dad. Well, I was there. I don't think my mom has met your dad. Yeah, I'm pretty sure she hasn't. Yui's parents and my dad met the same day I met her. I'm gonna say what happened. Shiloh frowned to himself, ducking his head. His head cast a shadow over his face. You could tell he was upset at not being included in Cove's choice of topic. That was kind of boring for him, though. Giving people their own turn to say the things they want to say is important, too. I think Shiloh wants to talk, too. Huh? We were talking, just not right now. I'm talking to you. He can listen. Shiloh's expression barely flickered at the words. He still looked pretty put off. Cove continued like this interruption hadn't happened. He was determined to tell the tale. Aw, I'm sorry, Shiloh. It do be like that. When we moved here, we didn't bring a lot of things with us. Only some of the stuff that fit in Dad's car. We didn't even get a moving truck. I sat in there while Dad brought it all inside. I didn't really want to get out because I know Dad would make me look around the new house. I really didn't want to do that. His lips twisted into a frown as he recalled that. Then I saw your moms. They were in a car too and stopped at your house. I guess they were coming back from somewhere or something. My dad noticed. He waved his hand and then went over to the front of your house where he started talking to them. I didn't know what they said. I couldn't hear it. But he couldn't see me anymore since he was looking the other way. So I opened the car door and left. I wanted to get away and went behind the houses. I found those hills there, the ones where we first met for the first time. Cove nodded and stared at you. He stared back. He didn't go on to say anything more. Are you going to finish your story? Cove's brow wrinkled like he didn't understand why you were surprised.
Huh?
That's all that happened. Okay. Why'd you want to tell the story if nothing happened? You really gotta get better at telling stories. That was a pretty bad story. Thanks for telling me. Why'd you tell the story if nothing happened? I don't get what the point was. But that was how our parents met. I didn't make the story up. But that's not really my point. Cove was just not understanding the issue here. Shadow's mouth twisted into a scowl of disbelief, but he said nothing. Why'd you bring that up anyway? There was a huge shrug of Cove's shoulders.
Wow.
I was thinking about it because of the sandcastle. It made me remember when I moved here. Dad showed me the beach first before we went back to the car to unpack. He was really excited about it for some reason. Cove's brows furrowed a little more as he quickly raked his hands through the sand. I get it. You thought maybe Mr. Holden wasn't that excited about the beach and was instead hoping Cove might be. But the line of conversation had come to its end. Even Cove was done with it. Some other topic had popped into his head. Shadow, fidgeting uncomfortably in the sand, had made Cove aware of his presence again. They looked at each other and you could only wonder what this might be about. Hey Shiloh? Yeah? Why are you always turning so red, even when nothing is happening? Clearly startled, he jerked back. Neither you or Shiloh expected that to be how it got included in the conversation again. I don't know, I guess. Okay, it's kinda weird. Cove, be nice! Shadow's eyes were wide with embarrassment and his lips twitched, and he was blushing even harder than before. Maybe it wasn't only this, perhaps. It was simply the last straw. But it was a big deal to Shiloh, a huge deal. He didn't just look sad, he seemed almost panicked. You weren't sure if he was about to cry or run away or what, but you soon got an answer. Why do you wear glasses? Most kids don't wear glasses, and nobody's named Cove. Hey, at least you're finally standing up for yourself, Shiloh. And yeah, that is true. Cove is a weird name.
Who asked you to come?
It was probably just your dad bugging Yui's family somewhere because you don't have anybody else who will ever play with you. Jesus Christ, Shiloh! Cove blinked. The tension on the beach was suddenly uncomfortable in a way you didn't know how to laugh off. It didn't seem like the kind of thing he'd get bothered about. Dude, ever know what kind of thing would bother Shiloh? I'm sorry. Me too. I was just wondering. Hey, let's build into the sandcastle. You tried to play on your own. Are we gonna build some more? You nervously messed with the sand. Let's build another sandcastle. The day's gonna be over soon. Ah, Yui, you're right. The sun's going down so fast. Y'all went back to making more sandcastles, but the whole mood had changed. Shadow's cheeriness was clearly gone, and Cove looked as confused as ever about why the other boy had blown up. The air stayed uncomfortable the rest of the afternoon, right up to the moment that Shiloh's mom appeared at the beach to take him home. At least he tried to do something to resolve it, though, and it seemed like it helped. Even though Shiloh's smile when he said goodbye to Cove wavered, it stayed as bright as ever for you. That had to count for something. But with Cove gone and the sun going down, you knew it was time for you and Cove to head to your own houses. The two of you trailed out of the park together and toward the neighborhood. The walk home was quiet. You passed by a familiar landmark, shoot something against the sidewalk in perfect unison. Cove was clearly caught up in thinking about something. Yes, Cove, what he's thinking. Something was definitely up, so you chose to reach out to him and ask, Hey, Cove, is everything okay? You're making a funny face.
Oh.
I was just wondering. Cove fell silent again for a few more seconds, then sighed. Why'd Shiloh act like that when I said that he was Riddle a lot? You were being rude to him? He's just being a baby? You shouldn't make fun of him? I don't know, it's just Shiloh gets embarrassed. You shrugged at Cove with no answer to give. You were being rude to him. No, I wasn't. It looked like that to me. It wasn't just starting that to one thing. You're not very nice to Shiloh. I didn't mean it like that. Shiloh's kind of weird to talk to. See? That's kind of rude. I guess I can get it. Why would he do that? Sometimes I get really mad too. Despite seemingly coming to a conclusion, Cove's mood was still sour. Hey Yui, was Shiloh telling the truth? Huh? His gaze left yours as he dug the sole of his shoe into the ground. He looked oddly vulnerable for a second. Does my dad make you hang out with me? I know he talks to your moms about that a lot. An uncomfortable weight settled in on your chest at that question. You liked spending time with Cove. You didn't even have to think hard about it. You knew you did. But you couldn't help feeling guilty. Cove still didn't know what happened when you met Mr. Holden. Nobody's making me spend time with you. Your dad does do stuff so he'll hang out with my family, but Shiloh shouldn't have said that. You decided to tell him about how his dad offered you money. No, I'm gonna go with the first one because I declined the money. Cove's shoulders relaxed. He hadn't even noticed that he had tensed up. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Anyway, I didn't think you were pretending. I just Wanted to make sure it was okay is all.
Thanks.
For telling me. Your throat tightened. It was hard to meet Cove's earnest gaze again. Keeping secrets is hard. You're welcome. By now, the two of you were on the sidewalk near your house. It was time to part ways. You said goodbye, you hugged Cove goodbye, you nudged Cove's shoulder. You hugged Cove goodbye. You stepped forward and wrapped your arms around him tightly. You turned your head, resting your cheek on his shoulder. Cove stood there awkwardly with his hands at his side. He wasn't much of a hugger, but you didn't get the impression that he was simply unhappy that you were. Bye, Cove. See you tomorrow. Yeah, bye, Yui. You pulled away, then jogged toward your house. When you looked back, you saw Cove make his way back home too. As if he felt your eyes on him, he turned around. He waved. You did too. You felt a little unsure, like what you were supposed to do about the deal Cove's dad had offered. You didn't want to say something bad or something you shouldn't. You had no idea how Cove would take it either. It'd be terrible if it made him feel bad. What if he didn't want to play with you anymore? You might change your mind sometime. There's always tomorrow after all. For now, it was definitely something that you keep for yourself. With a final look, you went back inside your house.
Alright!
Tonight, we're going to catch fireflies! At this blunt declaration from your sister who you looked up from your macaroni and cheese dinner. Fireflies were a familiar sight over summer, coming out on warm nights to dance through the sky. Oh, that should be nice. Tonight was just particularly balmy. You knew that there were bound to be a ton of them around. Oh, you are you? Yeah! You started eating faster, you looked at your mom's, you pushed your food around your plate. Yeah! You rocked late from side to side in your seat, already excited for your after-dinner activity. Catching fireflies was a great way to spend a summer evening, and you could already envision the little lightning bugs drifting through the darkened sky. That's a good idea, Lizzie. Can we eat Mrs. Nampasu? Shiloh tapped his fork against the table excitedly, his face lighting up as he looked at Lizzie. It was unusual for Shiloh to still be here. Like always, his mom had to bring him over really early in the morning before her job started. But normally, she would have picked him up by now. She called before dinner to let you know that your mom knows she'd be late. You didn't hear why. Probably more work things. You thought maybe getting to hang out with Shiloh for longer is what made Lizzie want to keep running around outside.
Well...
It's already so dark out. Lizzie gave Mom the best puppy dog eyes she could, silly spooning mac and cheese into her mouth while you waited for their responses.
There.
Let him go. Nights like this don't happen every day. Your parents exchanged a look, then Mom eventually sighed and nodded back. Yes! Along with Lizzie's cheers, you threw your arms up in triumph, but waited until you finished chewing to say anything because you knew it was rude to talk with your mouth full.
Fine.
Just make sure you stay on the hill behind our house with all the poppies, okay?
Yeah.
That's where most of them are. The idea had only just been planted in your head, but already you could just picture all the glowing lights spread out in front of you, like the fairies from bedtime stories Mommy reads sometimes. All too quickly, it became a race to see who could finish their food first. No choking at the dinner table now. That's right, if someone died, we'd have to cancel the Firefly trip after all. Yeah, just try not to die, okay? That'd be, like, really expensive. Mom said it like a joke, but you knew that they were both telling you kids to slow down. Shiloh did immediately. When he glanced at Lizzie, he saw her still eating faster than she should. Elizabeth?
Jeez.
No one's gonna die! Sheesh! A knock on the door interrupted Mom before she could no doubt scold your sister. I'll get it! Your big sister jumped out of her seat and ran over to the door, pulling it open without even looking at the window to see who it was.
Huh?
You shifted in your seat to try and get a glimpse of an unexpected guest.
Hi.
Good evening, Cove. Your mommy had already locked the door by the time you managed to see past Shiloh's floppy hat. Oh, Cove, hi, you're here! Cove smiled at your enthusiastic greeting, and you hoped Mommy would ask him to stay. It didn't matter why he was there. It meant he could join you all in catching fireflies. Then for a few seconds, Cove said nothing. He only stood there and looked up at your Mommy with a face almost like he was considering turning around and leaving. My dad told me to drop this off because I guess he borrowed it from you. Cove took a familiar screwdriver from out of his large side pocket. Eyes now dropped to the floor. We left Doris back home when we moved. Great, thanks, bye!
Thank you.
Here, why don't you come inside for a bit? Lizzie crossed her arms and lifted her chin. Cove shrugged and Mom stood from the table too. I'll give your dad a call to let him know that you got here all right. Cove shuffled fully inside, eyes remaining on the ground. Mommy closed the door behind him.
Hi.
Hi, Cove. Cove, are you going to catch fireflies with us? You should come outside with us if you want to. You weren't sure what to say now. Cove, are you going to catch fireflies with us? You could see Lizzie eyeing you for mentioning the exertion to an outsider, but she'd get over it. You hoped Cove would say yes. That way, you wouldn't be the odd one out with Lizzie and Shiloh anymore.
Yeah.
I can do that. I never caught one before. It's too bad he didn't have a chance before now. The fireflies weren't out when he first moved in, and there must not have been any where he used to live. We can't go until after dinner. After she pointed this out, Lizzie walked to the table and took her seat. There wasn't much left on her plate. Since this was very true, you decided to finish up your own stuff as well. Cove stepped closer and eyed what was on the menu for your family's meal. Have you eaten yet? Yeah, my dad and I ate earlier. What'd you have? Eggs. The clipped one-word answer seemed to discourage Shiloh from asking any more questions. His eyes slowly wandered back to the last scraps of food on his plate. Her phone call with Cove's dad must have ended because your mom came back into the room.
Okay.
Cove, your dad said you can stay for a little while if you'd like, but he's going to come get you before it gets too much later. Sure.
Fun.
Oh, fun. This would be so nice. The three of you all finished eating shortly after, and Lizzie led the way outside. Remember, don't stray too far. It's fine, Mom. Shiloh trailed so closely after Lizzie, he was nearly stepping on her heels. Cove hesitated at the door. Coming? After a moment, he did.
Bye.
Bye, children. The two of you were a good 10 or 15 feet behind Lizzie and Shiloh. By the time you walked outside, you pushed the door shut behind you, watching their figures get farther and farther away.
Hurry up!
You're so slow, Yui. We don't have all night. You started to run when you heard Lizzie's voice calling you, but paused when you saw Cove still walking at a relaxed pace. Are you not going to come? You tugged him along. You walked with him. You waved at him in a hurry. You ran off. I'll walk with him. You fell behind, sliding up next to him and matching his stride. He noticed right away.
It's okay.
You can go ahead if you want. You smiled and shook your head. I don't. After a short while, the two of you reached the hill behind the house. Oh, look at the fireflies! They're so cute! They're so pretty! The fireflies were out in full force, floating on the breeze, their gentle glow winking in and out, creating an almost magical effect. Lizzie had already climbed to the top. Shiloh was spinning in circles somewhere around the middle. Wow. Shiloh took a moment to come over and welcomed both of you to the hill. Hi guys, it's really great out, huh? See how many there are? Yeah. A firefly danced through the air, landing on Cove's sea green hat. Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You and Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. You looked quite licked on. You shooed the bug away. You and Shiloh couldn't help but giggle. Covering your mouth with a hand, the sound escaped you, and Cove looked at you in confusion. What?
Oh,
Lizzie has one. That's amazing! Shiloh ran to the highest point of the hill, making sure not to lose his hat or backpack along the way. You hummed as the group divided and conquered, shifting your gaze to the dozens of fireflies stealing around. The game was on. You had a bandage on your thumb and you tried to be cautious of that. You had a bandage on your palm and you tried to be cautious of that. You had two bandages on your hand and you tried to be cautious of that. You were good at not getting cuts or scratches, so you weren't too worried about that. Bandage on my thumb. Spotting one close by, you approached it with assassin-like stealth, crouching down to make yourself seem like less of a threat. Slowly dragging one foot in front of the other, you crept up towards it, arms outstretched. You closed your hands around the little glowing orb, careful not to crush it. The firefly landed on your palm, almost docile, and you stared down at your own prize in delight. Its tiny legs tickled your skin, and you giggled at the sensation. Cove kept up with his own target, but when he tried to grab it, his pink cast waved awkwardly through the air, foiling his effort to clasp his hand around the firefly. Cove watched it vanish into thin air with a dissatisfied expression on his face. Encouraging him to try again, you told him about the firefly you had, you made a joke about what happened, you did your own things. Encourage him to try again. You'll get the next one. Did you catch one? You nodded, and Cove gave up his hunt for the moment, coming closer and peering at the insect still crawling across your palm. You held out your hand, he leaned closer, eyes winding a tad behind his glasses. Cove remained hypnotized by the little bug as he inched his hand closer to yours. Ultimately, he settled his fingers lightly over top of the ones you were holding open. It tingled. Aww. You stayed very still. You pulled your hand back. You stayed very still. Aww. Young love. The last thing he wanted was to accidentally scare the shiny treasure off. Oh, of course, right, because of the firefly. Not because I want his hand to stay in mine, of course. But still, aww, young love. The firefly noticed the new connection. Crawled up onto Cove's hand. He quietly gasped. It worked! Yeah, you got one! Cove's lips turned up into a slow smile, and his eyes shined brighter than the bug. Thanks, Yui. With a laugh, he gave the palm of your hand a friendly smack performing an awkward low five. Startled by the extreme movement, the tiny light disappeared before you could even blink. Your firefly was gone.
Sorry.
You scolded him, you forgave him, you teared up. I'm gonna tear up. Now I'm gonna forgive him. It's okay, I couldn't keep it forever.
You're right.
Right, bugs have to stay outside. Let's get another. You decide to collect more, you decide to sit in the grass and watch. Let's collect more. We can work together. His face broke out into a wide grin. We'll get a bunch. With renewed vigor, you ran onto the hill. You're not sure how much time passed while you were in the thick of it. All you could focus on was the adventure at hand. No critter was safe from your grasp. At first, you tried to keep a tally of how many you had caught, but once the number grew higher than 10, you had no more fingers left to count with. You were having the time of your life, racing up and down the hill with the crash of the ocean and the sound of everybody's laughter echoing in the background. Yui, this way! You followed the sound of Cove's voice to the top of the hill, watching as he stretched his arms in front of you, reaching with his fingers and only narrowly missing his target. Cove and you took turns trying to scare fireflies in the direction of the other. You showed him some techniques that you had learned, like how to cup your hands correctly, and he listened intently before trying for himself. There were a few times when you almost ran into each other, giggling as you dove at the side at the last moment. Luckily, disaster was avoided each time. It was an overall huge success with both of you catching multiple fireflies each. Eventually, the fireflies began to thin out, and your energy started to lapse. You decided it was time to call it off. Cove didn't complain. He breathed in heavily, and his face seemed really flushed. That was fun. A lot of fun. You smiled at him broadly, happy that he had completely enjoyed the activity. Yeah, it was.
Come on!
Yui, Cove, get up here. We're gonna have a race. The shouting caught you off guard. It had been quite a while since you heard from Lizzie or Shiloh. You glanced over to see them both standing on top of the hill again, Lizzie beckoning you with quick hand gestures. If she was like that, you knew there wasn't much room for a disagreement. Up the incline you went. From the corner of your eye, you saw Cove was coming as well. You didn't care for Lizzie a lot, so you thought he might be intrigued just by the idea of a race. Hi, Cove. You can't roll down the hill. You can only hurt your arm again. You'll be the referee for the rest of us. As Lizzie pointed this out, Cove froze in place. Oh, it was that kind of race. He frowned down at his cast. This is the second time it got in the way tonight. What? Yeah, you'll just watch and see who gets to the bottom first. That's important. Got it?
I guess.
The cast was sturdy. If he was careful, he could have done it. Lizzie might have just been looking for a reason to make someone else the referee, but it was already decided. I'll stay with Cove. You get into position for the race, I'm gonna do something else. I'll stay with Cove.
Really?
Why? You don't have to. It's okay. I want to watch. You moved beside him on top of the hill, even though Lizzie eyed you and made a face. That's not how races work. You only need one referee. Shrugging your shoulders, you refused to budge, and Lizzie let out a huff before throwing her hands in the air. Fine, I'll be the winner whether you join or not. Lizzie moved to lay down, and Shiloh did the same. Cove stood slightly to the side and get a better vantage point, and you stood next to him. Countdown! Cove stood up a little straighter and seemed like he was taking his newfound referee duties seriously. 3, 2, 1, go! Lizzie and Shiloh took off, letting gravity do the work and rolling at high speed towards the bottom of the hill. You and Cove leaned forward to watch them go, eyes peeled for which of the two would reach the bottom first. They were both neck and neck until about halfway down the hill, Lizzie started to veer off to the side, giving Shiloh a huge advantage. She obviously hadn't noticed a thing, and as soon as Shiloh reached the bottom of the hill, he jumped up excitedly and threw his hands in the air. I won! Almost immediately, he fell back onto the grass, still dizzy from his roll down the hill. Lizzie stomped over to the bush she had ended up in, sputtering angrily and brushing leaves from the front of her dress. Not bad. You got lucky. Let's do it again and see who wins for real. Kids, time to come in. No! You snickered, feeling grateful you haven't been a part of the mini debacle. You caught Clove's eyes and saw that what he was doing the same. It had gotten late and was beginning to feel just a little bit chilly as you made your way out of the hills, but the cold in the air hadn't dampened anyone's spirits. The four of you walked back home together side by side down your neighborhood street, discussing the evening, with each person trying to prove that they were the one who got the most fireflies. You all knew that whoever really did catch the most didn't really matter much anyway. All that mattered was that you all had a good time, which, judging by the smiles on everyone's faces, you did. And then, summer ended. Yes, let's move on to the next step. I'll never get tired of that view. You stood beside your moms, Lizzie and Cove, as the five of you watched the sun dip into the ocean somewhere far, far away. You like to imagine it cooling off the water, resting itself before getting ready to shine brightly again tomorrow. That was a fun day. I didn't know they had magicians on the shopping street now. Neither did I. Oh no, we were so dull. Let's get out more. He didn't do real magic, Mom. How'd you figure that one out? Because I know, that's not what real magic looks like. Oh, Lizzie dear, there's all kinds of magic in the world. Lizzie gave Mommy a suspicious look, but didn't dispute the claim. You looked over at Cove, who hadn't said a word since you started home. You didn't look upset though, just content. Your worry he still hadn't quite warmed up to your parents. Well, we can't sit out here all night. Time to hurry home and get cooking. Who's helping with dinner? Lizzie immediately let out a groan.
Ugh.
Mom, summer's almost over. The protest was obvious. You could practically see school on the horizon. You certainly didn't want to spend your last bits of freedom cooking dinner. You could do that any other day. Please, can we just play a little longer? We have to keep playing before it's too late. It is almost over. Put on your best puppy dog eyes. Lizzie may not want to, but you plan on going home. Please, can we just play a little bit longer? Mom looked down at you with a sigh, and you clasped your hands together to give your plea some extra appeal. We'll help with dinner tomorrow. You immediately nodded in agreement with the very clever offer, shifting closer to Lizzie since your parents can't possibly resist the power of you two combined. Yeah, we're adorable.
Please.
Soon we'll have homework and reading to do. We can't do work now, too. Lizzie made her case and then stomped her foot into the ground. You mimicked her, feeling that would add something to the argument. Well...
Now.
Oh, come on, Pam. I can help you with dinner. Mommy leaned in for a hug, and you know that you were very close to victory.
Okay.
Alright. But as soon as dinner's ready, you two are coming inside, understood? Yes, Mom! Yes, Mom. Cove, dear, you're welcome to join us as well. You grinned at Cove and nudged his arm with your elbow. Cove gave a non-committal shrug to your mommy, which you took as an agreement. Ah, so much to do, so little time. Maybe I could still get the seashell bracelet at Tines and Trinkets. Oh, or maybe the playground, or the fireflies would probably be coming out, right? Do I get a say in this? You silently made your plans. We can't go too far. I'm going home. You silently made your plans. Lizzie had her own ideas of what she wanted to do, but what were you going to do? You glanced over to Cove, considering. A strong gust of wind made you shiver. Lizzie huffed as she wrapped her arms around herself.
Rude.
Doesn't the wind know that summer's not over yet? That's all Lizzie said before abruptly turning on her heel and heading off into the direction your mothers had gone. Where are you going? I'm going to my room. I have lots of plans to do if I want to make the most of tomorrow. Meanwhile, Cove was going in the opposite direction, heading off for the beach. I stayed with Cove. Cove gave you a smile that you couldn't help but return.
Cool.
He made a little gesture that you interpreted as follow me, and then started heading to the waves. Cove knelt down, picking up something you quickly identified as a smooth rock. He reared his arm back, then tossed it into the water. You were impressed for how far you got it to go. It sailed out into the sea. It was a good toss. That was pretty neat. It wasn't a long throw, but he didn't really care to try it. The rock kind of sunk like a rock and fell back down almost right after he tossed it. This one. You can't skip rocks in the ocean. What are you doing? You looked for your own rocks. What are you doing? Nothing really.
Nothing.
You tilted your head, wondering over the sudden pensive look on his face. Just thinking. About what? Cove was looking down at his cast, scratching idly at the pink surface even though you're pretty sure you couldn't feel it. His brows were furrowed, and then there's a frown on his face. It's not
fair.
I had to wear this cast for ages. I can't even swim. When do you get it up? How'd you get it? How'd you get it? I was just jet skiing. Really? That's not fair. Cool. Your eyes widened. Cool! You beamed at him. You'd never gone jet skiing, but you'd seen others do it all the time from the shore. It looked impressive. Cove took a little taken aback by your outburst, but after a second, he gave a small nod. He then continued to explain. I crashed. He gestured to his arms as if to say, and this was the result. It's hard to believe you're allowed to jet ski.
Whoa.
I'm not. Oh. Cove let out a huff, plopping down into the sand. I can't believe summer's almost over. You sat down next to him and nodded in agreement, regardless of the sudden topic change. I don't want to go to school. I mean, I would. I just don't want to go to a new school. I think it'll be the same school as you and Lizzie. My dad said something about that. Cool, you're going to like it. Everyone's super nice. You'd only ever been to the one school, but you were sure that this old school couldn't have been that much better. Then again, you did have to make new friends and meet new teachers. It could be kind of scary. Cove shook his head and then wrapped his good arm around his knee as he drew them to his chest. You heard a sniffling sound, and when you took a good look at his face, you realized that his eyes were wet. Yeah, I don't blame you, dude. Going back to school sucks. You never had to move before, but you thought you could understand if you had to go to a new school all of a sudden. With all new people, you'd probably be dreading it too. Even though you sort of maybe understood, you still weren't too sure how to help. Okay, I'll see you later? Cove gave his head a small shake. No, I want to go back home. Right. Cove wanted to go back to his old home. The one that sat waiting someplace far from here. The one he would bring up whenever he felt this sad. It had been a while since he moved in, but he didn't seem to feel any better about being here. He settled back down into the sand trying to consider what to do. Do you hate it here? This can be your home. It'll be alright. Do you hate it here? Cove's brow furrowed even more. Then he shook his head. He felt a rush of relief fill you. You liked having Cove here. It would be sad if he'd been miserable the whole time. You're not going to leave, right? You'll still be around? The question was a little surprising. Of course! Your parents would have mentioned it if you were going to move or something, right? After a second, Cove gave a little nod. Once I get my cast off, we can go swimming. You're fine with him changing the subject again. Yeah, that would be fun! Cove smiled and looked back to the waves. My dad keeps saying I'll get used to everything eventually, that I'd feel better then. It used to make me angry. I didn't want to get used to everything. He spread a glance over at Cove and saw the anger had slipped off his face in favor of something almost puzzled. But maybe that would be okay after all? As long as I really do feel better. I can't see it. You could remember a long time ago when you first started going to school. You had absolutely not been okay with the idea of being away from your parents for most of the day, to listen to strangers tell you what to do and sit with kids you'd never met before. Things changing is hard. You held his hand. I'll make sure you do. I held his hand. You're not quite sure what to say to that, so instead you reached out and took a hold of Cove's hand. The one closest to you is the one in his cast, so make sure you were very gentle. As you watched, Cove's eyes got a little misty once more. You got the feeling that they were different tears from the ones from before, though. I hope next summer I'll surf and go exploring and everything will feel like it's supposed to again. You will. It will. The two of you sat quietly, just taking in the sound of the waves. You hoped that Cove would be able to accept this place as his new home. You'd definitely try to help, in what ways you could. There were so many wonderful things here Cove probably hadn't even seen yet. Lost in thought, you started a bit when you heard a faint, familiar sound. The sound of your mom shouting your name. You looked over your shoulder, realizing it was probably time for dinner. Time had really gone by fast. You stood and dusted the sand off yourself. My mom's calling. It's time for dinner. You should come. Cove looked up at you, expression screaming reluctance, yet ultimately, okay. When he smiled, Cove returned one of his own. Yui, thanks. It was nice, where you were right then. The two of you couldn't stay in your own little world any longer. You were being called forward. So the both of you ran off towards your house, leaving the waves and summer behind. Aww.